Oh, I'm late. If you've ever been stoked about week 0, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. We made it to Friday. It's Warsh Day, and we have the fallout of the MRVL earnings and Ulta earnings last night. We also had a firm report earnings. We've got news about PayPal not being acquired anymore. So we actually have some stuff to do here. Warsh's speech starts at 10 a.m. Eastern. That is the big event that we are waiting for. But we've got a loaded show of content here. First, we're going to bring on Mark Putrino today. We're going to have Anne-Marie back here today. And of course, 13 and I are going to break down what's going on and roll through the news. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Friday edition for August 28th, 2026, begins right now. Good morning, folks, and welcome back. I hope that you all had a wonderful rest of your Thursday. I know the Bills fans out there probably did. Hopefully you all are ready for today as we have more earnings fallouts and Warsh's speech today. Good to see a whole bunch of returning faces here today. EKS is first. EKS, it's great to see again. Stripe and Advent abandoned pursuit to acquire PayPal. As a result, PayPal getting smoked here today. I've got a piece of news for you on that. We're going to cover that here in just a sec. Peter, good morning. Welcome back. Robert, good morning. Welcome back. Solitary Soldier, good morning and welcome back. Corey, good morning. Welcome back. Yes, that girl, good morning. Welcome back. Francis, good morning. It's great to see you. Producers locked in and ready to go. Derek, good morning. Welcome back. Jay Wild, good morning. Welcome back. Always enjoy it. Brett says, good morning, Ryan. Always enjoy seeing you. It's always good to be seen. Thank you, Brett. We will always take positivity to start the day. That is for sure. And good morning to everybody else from Brett. Very polite here, Brett. We love it. Zach McCracken, good morning. It's great to see you. Good afternoon to you, but good morning to the Benzinga gang, of course. Jay, it's great to see you again as well. Welcome back. Bernhard, welcome back. Yala Coach, morning, everybody. I think you spelled morning like if you mourn someone's death, but I think you meant good morning. So that's what we're going to go with for the whole positivity thing. So good morning. Welcome back. Matthew, good morning. Happy Friday. Anne-Marie, good morning. Anne-Marie with a warning shot early here. Today will be dangerously choppy, she says. Stay frosty. Okay. Anne-Marie, I will be honest with you. I was hoping for something a little bit better than that, to be quite honest. But if chop is what we get, chop is what we're going to have to play for. So be ready. Jay likes Frosty and producer likes Frosty, but only if they're from Wendy's, which is also in the news, as Nelson Peltz is not going to take them private. See how we tied that all together? That's how you do it. Billy, our human chat scanner, good morning. Welcome back. Samaritain, good afternoon to you and good morning to everybody else. Linda, it's always great to see you. Welcome back. Just passing through. Welcome back. Jay Wild. Frosties are almost a food group. Almost. Apparently, people dip French fries into them, which makes them even closer to a food group, I suppose. JJ, good morning. Welcome back. G-Cord, good morning. Welcome back. Durkus, good morning. Welcome back. Liam, good morning. And good afternoon to you, Liam. But good morning to everybody else. We appreciate that. Robot to Trade, good morning. It's great to see you. Brandy's locked in and ready to go. Good to see you again as well. Joe, good morning and welcome back. Acorns, good morning and welcome back. Ryan and the Curious Cat. Yo, this new cat is super curious. She likes to check everything out. Funny story. I had a piece of baguette wrapped up in foil sitting on my counter. And yesterday I heard something happening, commotion in the other room. And I walked out there to see what was happening. And this kitten has grabbed the baguette that is wrapped in foil and carried it to the other room. She took it off the counter and carried it to the table. What on earth was she going to do with baguette wrapped in foil? I don't know, but it made me laugh. And she jumps into my lap while we're on stream here. She's adorable and hilarious. Daniel, good morning. Welcome back. HP Darkside Hemi, good morning and welcome back. Rooster, it's always good to see you. Welcome back. Derek says, I always like hearing Anne-Marie's option analysis. I don't understand options, but somehow I still find insight on her explanations. I can help close the gap here. Anne-Marie is incredibly adept at looking at charts and giving analysis. She's been doing that since the moment I met her back in 2019. This is not a new thing. And on top of that, she's also an excellent communicator. So when you're explaining things that are complex, she has a way of making it easy to understand. So, Derek, I'm not surprised that even if you do not trade options themselves or the multi-leg trades that she gives out, I am completely unsurprised that you find benefit in the rest of her analysis because it is spot on. Really good feedback, though. We go together. Good morning. Kelly, good morning. Richard, good morning. Alvin, good morning. Jeff, good morning. It's great to see you again. Rick, nice to see you again. And Carmen, hello and good morning. All right, folks, let's get Friday kicked off here with our stock market today. All right, we got a little bit of a mixed bag here ahead of Friday's open and the Warsh presser. S&P futures are right at unchanged. Actually, they just ticked into the green. They are up by 0.02%. So S&P about unchanged, but bias seems to be to the green side, at least prior to the open. We'll see if that changes. The Dow is higher by 0.1%, so up 0.1%. 0.1%, excuse me. And the NASDAQ is actually down 0.25%, minus 0.25. Now, the NASDAQ, it's kind of trading sideways here, but as of right now, it is trying to move up off the pre-market low. So we'll see if that carries here into the open and then maybe into the regular session. But otherwise, a mixed market here. Oil is about down a little bit, down 0.77%. And the Bitcoin futures are down slightly. They're holding here just shy of 80,000 at 79,975. 975. All right. Let's take a look at some cues from last session, as well as what we have on deck for you here today. Of course, as always, we've got some stocks in focus here for you, and we have some insights from analysts as well. Information technology led Thursday's advance among S&P 500 sectors, while healthcare, consumer staples, and consumer discretionary shares recorded the deepest losses during the session. U.S. stock futures were mixed on Friday as the Dow Jones advanced, while the S&P and NASDAQ fell following Thursday's higher close. S&P is trying to push into green. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent intensified his economic D-Day pressure campaign, accusing Iran's corrupt regime of funding overseas terror while domestic economic conditions deteriorate. Driven by the expanding financial offensive, the Iranian rial collapsed to a record low of approximately 1.3 million per dollar as August oil loadings plummeted to 248,000 barrels per day. I beg your pardon. Investors will keep an eye on the Federal Reserve Chairman Kevin Warsh as he addresses an audience of international economists and central bankers at Jackson Hole. Global markets will closely monitor his remarks for further details regarding the economy, recent bond market volatility, and emerging risks to the U.S. and global outlooks. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.67%, and the 2-year bond was at 4.23%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show the market's pricing a 33.7% likelihood of the Federal Reserve hiking the current interest rates during its September meeting. Now, again, we've got several stocks in focus here for you today, and the big one, at least I think, is going to be MRVL Technology. The ticker is MRVL, and it tumbled 8.93% despite reporting better than expected financial results for the second quarter. Management guided third quarter non-GAAP gross margins to 57.5% to 58.5%, representing a sequential drop from the second quarter's 58.9%. PayPal is the next stock on our list. The ticker on this one is PYPL, and it tumbled 14.58%, following reports that a consortium led by Stripe and Advent International has abandoned its $53 billion takeover pursuit. The next stock on our list is going to be Ulta Beauty. The ticker is ULTA. It also declined 3.19% despite posting upbeat results for the second quarter and raising its fiscal year 2026 guidance. The next stock on our list is going to be Gap. The ticker is GAP, and it advanced by 14.86% after reporting better than expected second quarter earnings and raising its fiscal year 26 EPS guide above estimates. IREN is the last stock on our list. The ticker is IREN, and it slumped 7.72% as it posted fourth quarter results after Thursday's closing bell, in which it missed the consensus revenue and estimate for the quarter. All right, folks, we're going to take a look at the SPY chart. And I got to say, I know we haven't had like a big move up or down in some time, but it's hard for me to argue that the chart that we're seeing here on the SPY is not constructive. We've talked about how like the last almost week and a half, we've really kind of come into the 20-day and we've kind of been holding that and riding that. And that is still the case here today. It sure looks like we're trying to curl up. Again, I kind of said earlier, it looks like the bias is to the upside. We actually on Happy Hour took a look at some options statistics yesterday and like gamma readings and such. And it sure seems like market participants think we're going to go test 7,800 on the S&P cash. That's about 780 here on the SPY. And that would represent a new breakout to an all-time high, but not a whole lot of follow through. The options for next week were very indecisive. And that makes sense because I don't think that we have a really good idea of what's going to get said today. It's more of that feeling that we're kind of waiting for Warsh. And we'll see if that ends up bringing anything into the market here today. As far as the actual levels here, 769 is going to be your downside level. That's going to be the 20-day moving average of thereabouts, 769.32 here, but we can call it 769. And then that upside level there is going to be 776.85, previous breakout level. We'll see if we test that here, and then maybe the all-time high. I'm not sure what we're going to get here today, so I'm just going to play. I'm going to get ready to be reactive to whatever we get. If we get an up move, great. If we get a down move, great. We'll plan accordingly for either of those. But this is what I got here on the SPY. Want to take a quick check at the Qs here. It's been this pesky trend line. It's pesky for two reasons. One, we really can't get above it. And two, I seem to have to extend it every day. But regardless, it does look like we're trading up to try and test this. My guess would be the bias is to the upside here. Now, with MRVL tumbling and PayPal tumbling, something's going to have to bounce here to bring us higher. We'll see if we end up testing that. We are right on the 20, so that could be a key level there, 718, and your 50-day is 712 on the Qs. All right, let's take a look at some insights from analysts here and see what they think about everything that's going on. And we'll get you all set with some of the news here today. Jennifer Timmerman, global macro analyst at Wells Fargo Investment Institute, maintains a constructive outlook on the U.S. economy and stock market despite recent signs of consumer fatigue. While addressing concerns about whether the U.S. consumer has checked out, Timmerman emphasizes that recent economic weakness, quote, warrants perspective rather than alarm, end quote. Although customer spending may moderate in the second half of the year as lower income households face financial strain, she highlights that broader economic fundamentals still remain solid. Key pillars supporting her positive outlook include labor market stability, noting an intact, quote, no hire, no fire environment, end quote, strong spending by upper-income households driven by asset gains, and an ongoing artificial intelligence investment boom. Ultimately, Timmerman concludes that recent data suggests the consumer is slowing, not taking a deep dive, end quote. She expects that labor market stability, ongoing AI infrastructure investments, and wealth-building gains will keep the broader economic expansion on track, which could continue driving gains in the stock market. So more positive outlook there. AI really seems to be carrying the boat here. A bunch of different folks think that. We see that every day. And I can't wait to see if Mark Putrino is going to show us the sentiment here. The rally is still not well liked. There's still trepidation out there. There's still people on the sidelines. It's not super euphoric bullish, which means I don't really think we're going to have a big pullback yet. Again, we'll see what Warsh does here today. S&P futures doing their best to try and tick higher. Okay, let's take a look at MRVL. We'll start with the chart, and then we'll go through the actual earnings report. The one thing I would like from the group here this morning, who's looking to trade MRVL today? And if you are looking to trade this, is this kind of a day trade? Is this a swing trade? Are you using this as a chance to get in for a longer term investment? What do you think on MRVL? You can see here from the chart, we basically gapped down to the 20. Now we're down 8%. Gapping down to the 20 means that we completely coughed up the 50. So we do have some key levels here. 221.80 is your 20-day moving average. If you want to look at that like 222, I'm not going to fight you on that. But it is also worth noting 229.65 is in fact that 50-day moving average, and that is starting to roll over here. So we'll see if we have the strength to get back above that. Ultimately, we have this recent high. That's about 255-ish, 254, 255-ish. We'll see if MRVL can end up kind of closing this gap down. But down 20 points here, 19 points here, down just shy of 8%. We'll see what MRVL gives us here today. This is what it looks like inside. So we fell on earnings. We drifted lower into the close of the after-hour session, and then this morning in the pre-market, we're basically holding the same range. That range is going to be 220 on the downside, 225 on the upside, which means those are going to be your key levels if you're looking for a day trade. JJ says, hand up, day trade. I'm in longer as well. Okay. Lakshmi says, good morning. I'm tired today. I'm not buying anything today. Okay. All right. There you go. There you go, Lakshmi. Well, we hope that you've got the comedic relief on deck for us here today. Let's take a look at that MRVL report and see what's going on with this. MRVL Technologies, ticker MRVL, their shares fell nearly 8% in Friday's pre-market trading as investors reset expectations after the company's earnings report, despite continued data center strength and stronger outlook. MRVL reported second quarter revenue of $2.74 billion and adjusted EPS of 94 cents. Both beat the consensus estimates. Management pointed to continued strength across its data center portfolio as well. For the third quarter, MRVL guided to $3.15 billion, plus or minus 5%, and adjusted EPS to $1.10, plus or minus 5 cents. Excuse me. The company also expects an adjusted gross margin of 57.5% to 58.5%. CEO Matt Murphy raised Marvell's revenue target for the next year to roughly $18 billion, which implies about a 50% growth. CNBC noted that Marvell's data center business is growing more than 60%, and that's supported by optical components that connect AI servers and custom chips, which Murphy expects to more than double. However, Murphy said revenue from Marvell's recently announced Alphabet Google warrant agreement, again, Alphabet's going to be ticker GOOG and GOOGL, their warrant agreement is already included in next year's projections. That clarification reduced some investor enthusiasm because Wall Street had viewed the Google agreement as additional upside beyond existing expectations. Murphy said the larger contribution from the deal should come the following year. CNBC also pointed to an elevated expectations after Marvell shares had climbed about 184% year to date and nearly 30% over the previous month. Seymour Asset Management founder and CIO Tim Seymour, friend of Benzinga, by the way, said Marvell sits in an attractive area for the AI infrastructure market, particularly networking and data centers. He called Marvell's forward guidance strong, but said investors still face uncertainty over the appropriate valuation multiple for the stock. Seymour does not own Marvell and said he would rather own NVIDIA at what he considers a more attractive valuation. So I guess just right off the bat, how many of you agree with Tim Seymour? Do you think that NVIDIA represents a more attractive valuation and thus you'd rather own NVIDIA? Or are you sticking with Marvell? Are you listening to Matt Murphy saying, hey, you know, this is going to we're going to keep growing and this is going to get better and we're folding more things into the business? You'll have to let me know which one you like. You'll have to let me know which one you like there. Now, the next story here, EKS gave us the headline. Joe Marsh says, I'm in both. JJ says both. You know, and it's funny, too, because I know Tim here, for the sake of the quote, needed to pick one. But I suspect, Pillar also saying both, I suspect that a majority of folks, if you're bullish on the AI trade, you're probably bullish on both of these names. It's probably not a one or the other unless you're forced into that. So Rick, Pilar, JJ, Joe, I'm willing to bet that your position is probably the majority. That's what I would think on Marvell there. We'll see how it trades here today, too. Be very curious to see if that bounces back and closes the gap at all. Now, the next story here, EKS broke the headline here as he was first today. PayPal drops 12% overnight on the dead Stripe deal. Portfolio manager Thomas Hayes said the board saved meaningful upside by blocking an inadequate offer. Interesting. Let's see what he has to say about that. PayPal Holdings, ticker PYPL, their shares tumbled sharply, falling over 12% in overnight trading following reports that a consortium that was led by Stripe and Advent International has abandoned its $53 billion takeover pursuit. However, despite the steep drop, some market watchers are applauding PayPal's board for rejecting the, quote, inadequate offer, end quote, and preserving meaningful upside for existing shareholders. The buyout group had reportedly tabled a bid of $60.50 a share for the digital payment giant in mid-July. PayPal's board ultimately rejected the proposal, and that was reported by Reuters. And PayPal deemed it insufficient and noting the potential regulatory and financial hurdles. Now, Benzinga did reach out to PayPal for comment on the matter, but did not receive an immediate response. This is something I'm watching, and I'll continue to bring you updates. Portfolio manager at Hedge Fund Tips and money manager at Great Hill Capital, Thomas Hayes, offered strong support for PayPal's leadership. Hayes publicly praised CEO Enrique Lores and the board for not accepting the inadequate offer, which he noted was less than 9 times free cash flow. Quote, kudos to the PayPal board for not allowing them to steal meaningful upside from our current owners, end quote. That, again, was from Hayes. He urged the company to stay on the course as a standalone entity, advising leadership to continue to execute the turnaround playbook, buy in shares, and grow the ad business for additional margin expansion over time, end quote. Following news that Stripe and Advent had formally walked away, PayPal's stock sank in overnight trading, falling below $54 per share and erasing gains from the initial takeover buzz. Reacting to the deal's collapse, market commentator Sam Badawi noted that the consortium's exit suggests they simply do not believe the company is worth more than the $53 billion price tag. PayPal currently faces a critical juncture. The fintech pioneer has seen its market value collapse from a pandemic-era peak of roughly $360 billion in 2021 to a fraction of that size this year, battered by fierce competition and mobile rivals like Apple Pay and Google Pay. To combat slowing growth, Warsh initiated a sweeping recovery effort after taking over in March. He recently reorganized the company into 3 distinct operational units: Checkout, Venmo, and Payments and Crypto, aiming to simplify the provider and sharpen its focus on long-term growth. So look, as far as PayPal goes, I know this has been a tough one. We've been following PayPal here for a while. I've wanted to trade this for a while. We've talked about PayPal having potential good setups in the 70s before it really got pounded and moved lower. Let me ask you, how many of you are bullish on PayPal, or do you agree with the competition aspect of this? You know, Google Pay and Apple Pay seems to be in almost everyone's phone. Maybe people don't use PayPal. I'm managing several fantasy leagues. I'm collecting all of those fees via Venmo. I play golf with a bunch of my friends. We pretty much all use Venmo, at least as far as I know. I'm just wondering, what's the group's thought on PayPal? Are we actually bullish on this? Should they have taken this offer, or is there possible more upside for this stock? I'd be very curious. Alan says, I do not use PayPal and never have. Hard to buy something I do not use. The second part of what you said there, that's totally true. And by the way, I recommend all new traders, one of the best things that you can do is trade stuff that you know. So for example, if you don't use PayPal, probably don't trade that. If you use Affirmed, probably makes more sense. Producer said Venmo or Zelle for me. And I'll be honest with you, those are the 2 most common for me as well. Most people have Venmo, and if they don't, they almost certainly have Zelle. I still have a traditional PayPal account, but nobody seems to use traditional PayPal. Jason is asking, is Venmo PayPal? Yes, Venmo is owned by PayPal. So when I'm saying Venmo, that's basically their processing side. They called it the checkout there. Remember the 3 distinct operational units: Checkout, which is Venmo, Payments and Crypto, and then Checkout, Checkout, which is like buying things, Venmo, which is transferring things, and then Payments and Crypto is the third leg. I apologize for mixing that up. So let me know. The Good says he uses them all. Alan says he uses Venmo too. Well, then you use PayPal. Maybe not directly, but you still use PayPal. Tyler says, I had Venmo for a week, or PayPal, went back to my Zelle and Apple Pay. So you're basically confirming what the story says there about how some of the other competition is really moving people away from PayPal. Lakshmi says PayPal, he's bullish on it between 35 and 39, so it really needs to get down there. By the way, here's Zadie. She wants to say hi to everybody. She's a very sweet girl. She continues to jump into my lap. So, all right. So PayPal, we'll see. We'll see on this one. I've wanted this to work. It just hasn't. We'll see if that changes. All right. Next story here. EKS says all of my tenants pay by Zelle. That's interesting. I would not have guessed that, EKS. Okay. Next story here. Venezuela plans to exit OPEC as the U.S. eyes a massive stake in the Caracas oil fields. Let's see what this does. Venezuela is reportedly planning to leave the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, in a significant blow to the oil cartel it founded in 1960 alongside Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. Caracas has been discussing the move with U.S. officials, but no final decision has been reached yet, and this was reported by Bloomberg on Wednesday. Meanwhile, another report by Axios that came on Thursday stated that the Trump administration is in talks with Venezuela's interim government about acquiring a stake in the country's massive oil resources. While the details have not yet been finalized, the discussions are happening over a dozen productive oil fields and do not involve all of Venezuela's 300 billion barrels of proven reserves. The dozen oil fields contain close to 90 million barrels of proven reserves, which were controlled by past Venezuelan leaders, many of whom have been indicted. Some of these oil fields have had their interests controlled by China. In exchange for U.S. ownership, Caracas would benefit from private firms, including U.S. Oil majors, developing the fields and bringing in increased oil revenue to the South American country. Back in January, after the U.S. captured Nicolas Maduro, Energy Secretary Chris Wright had declared Washington's intention to maintain a firm grip on the Venezuela oil industry. Wright stated that the U.S. would continue to oversee the sale of Venezuela's oil production indefinitely. Quote, "We will sell the production that comes out of Venezuela into the marketplace," end quote. And that again was from Wright. The Energy Secretary emphasized that the generated revenue would be reinvested in Venezuela for the benefit of its people. He elaborated that the U.S. would supply diluent to restart production, allow imports of parts and services to stabilize Venezuela's oil industry, and ultimately foster conditions for output growth and renewed investment by major American companies. In April, Chevron, which is ticker CVX, agreed to an asset swap with Petróleos de Venezuela, which is ticker PDVSA, to strengthen its huge oil position in Venezuela. Under the deal, Chevron will boost its stake in Petro to 49% and gain rights to develop the Ayacucho 8 area near Petro PR project in the Orinoco oil belt. That was a mouthful. Meanwhile, the United Arab Emirates, or the UAE, the third largest oil producer in OPEC, exited the cartel in May, citing the country's current production policy and its current and future capacity aligned with its national interests. So sit tight, because the energy market is still changing. It is still changing. And frankly, I think this would be a net positive for America and South America if this ends up going through. All right. We've got a minute here till Mark Putrino. I did want to do one more story here. We can skip the Elon Musk story because I don't know if there's a trade behind it, but I do really quickly want to cover this NVIDIA one. I'll make it quick. All right. NVIDIA, ticker NVDA, has reportedly temporarily paused its financing program that offered credit support to AI cloud providers in exchange for a share of their revenue, backing away from the initiative less than 2 months after they unveiled it. Some of the company's employees told current and potential customers they were worried the program could draw antitrust scrutiny, citing sensitivities around how much control the chip giant could exert over its customers' businesses. And that was reported by the Wall Street Journal on Thursday. NVIDIA stepped back from the program last week and could revamp it in the future or fold it into a different initiative. That was in the report. And they cited for people familiar with the matter, quote, "The new business model we introduced in July that opens up compute access to the fast-growing AI ecosystem is still in place and continues to evolve due to high demand." An NVIDIA spokesperson told that directly to Benzinga when we reached out. The initiative was introduced in July, offering AI cloud providers credit support through minimum revenue guarantees in exchange for a share of future revenue above a specified threshold. That allowed companies to profit from both hardware sales and a cut of customer earnings. Quote, "In this model, we get paid twice, once on the hardware sale and again through the share of rental revenue," end quote. That came from CEO Colette Kress, who said that on Wednesday's second quarter earnings call. She pushed back against claims that the arrangement amounts to circular financing, saying that the company's risk remains low because its computing hardware can always be redeployed to other customers. The revenue sharing model is one of several tools NVIDIA has used to support its customer ecosystem, including a nearly $50 billion investment in Frontier AI Labs and a partnership with Apollo Global Management, ticker APO, BlackRock, ticker BLK, Blackstone, ticker BX, Brookfield Asset Management, ticker BAM, Goldman Sachs, ticker GS, and KKR, ticker KKR, to mobilize more than $500 billion in third-party infrastructure capital. And then, of course, earlier this month, the Big Short investor Michael Burry called NVIDIA's AI financing push a, quote, "Wall Street stunt," end quote. The pause comes even as NVIDIA posted record second quarter revenue of $96.22 billion, which was above the $92.11 billion estimates that analysts expected, according to Benzinga Pro. They also guided for $108 billion in the third quarter, a figure that would mark roughly 1,730% revenue growth over 4 years if they were able to achieve that. So I know there's worry about circular financing, but there it seems to be taken into account by some folks. I don't think we've seen the end of this yet either. By the way, before we get to Mark Putrino, quick check on the S&P futures. They did try to push higher here. They're actually at the upper standard deviation band of the VWAP, sitting right there. S&P futures positive by 0.05%. All right, folks, it's Friday, which means our resident CMT is checking in. Let's ask him how the golf was. Let's bring on Mark Putrino. Mark, welcome back. As always, it's great to see you. You know exactly where I'm starting. How was the golf?
It was fun, let's just say. But this course, it's a Peter Dye course, and it's just brutal. There's probably 4 holes where you need to carry 250 yards to make the fairway. And the stimp meter is like, I forget the scaling on the stimp meter, but it's literally like one of the hardest public golf courses in the country.
I think like 14 or 15 is the highest reading on that. So if you had a teens number there, you're in good shape. 250 carry. Did anyone from the group step up to the ladies' tees?
No, actually.
Did everyone?
But I did play one time with a guy who was a teaching pro who used to be a tour pro who's played all over the world. And he said the second hole at Pound Ridge is one of the top 3 hardest holes he's ever played in his entire life. Because when you're a pro, they hit from the black tees, which are about 50 yards behind where I'm hitting from. And you literally have this window that's probably about 7 or 8 yards wide, where you got to go right down the middle of the fairway and between these trees. And if you go either way, you're going to end up in these big moguls. And so anyway, but it was fun. You know, I'm at the point in my life where I don't really care about what I score anymore.
Yeah, you're just out there to have fun, and I can appreciate that a lot. All right, Mark, awesome. I've mentally added that to the bucket list golf course that we have to go play at some point. So we'll go ahead and do that. All right. Do you want to share your screen? What do you got for us here today?
Indeed, I do. One of the best pieces of golf advice I ever got was that golf is my screen sharing?
Yes, it is. I just have to put it on the screen here.
Golf is not about golf. Golf is about hanging out with your buddies, drinking beer, and being away from your wife and kids for a couple hours. So that's my philosophy.
There you go. Mark Putrino, everybody.
All right. Anyway, I mean, I think the market still looks pretty good. And these sentiment numbers that we watch every week came in. And look
Mark,
this.
Mark, really quick, before you jumped on, I even said, I hope Mark Putrino shows us the sentiment survey here today. I can't wait to see what it says. And lo and behold, you're leading with it. Let's go.
Yeah, this is from Westchester. Yeah, I live in Stanford. Anyway, this is a big jump in bearishness, up to 44%. The historical norm is 31, and bullishness is a little bit low. Now, remember, this is a contrarian signal. So a high level of bearishness is actually good for the market, because if people are bearish, there's money on the sidelines. It's when people get really bullish that you have to be afraid. Like if I woke up one morning, well, this only comes out once a week, but if this was like 65% bullishness, that's where you got to be worried, because everyone who wants to buy does so, and the market runs out of buyers. The historical norm here is 31% bearishness. At the bottom of last April, with all the tariff stuff that was going on, this was over 62%, twice the historical norm, which is a huge number. And it was a perfect time to buy. And why is that? Well, because the market ran out of sellers. It's like a lot of people have said it. I know Warren Buffett gets credit for it, but saying like buy when there's blood in the streets or something along those lines. And it's true. It's called sentimentality bias. When people start thinking this time it's different, and it's never different. At least it hasn't been going back 250 years. I mean, the names change, the people change, but it's still the market, and it's still people's emotions. And a lot of people think that markets are driven primarily by fundamentals, and that's really just not the case. Most of the time, it's just technical stuff. So anyway, before I go on through the markets, I was just looking at this NVIDIA, working on my trading model lessons. And this is a simple moving average crossover model. This is the one-day chart. So basically, you buy when the short term, meaning the 10-day moving average, crosses above the 20-day. Minute. The 10-minute crosses above the 20-minute.
So wait a sec. So you have what's the time period on this chart? This is a 5 minute.
These are each 1 minute.
Okay, so it's a 1 minute chart. Excuse me. Sorry.
Right. So you got your buy signal around 3 o'clock,
Mhm.
and you got your sell signal around 3:50. Right. Now,
Okay, so that's
one of
the
the most
10.
amazing,
Sorry, Mark, and I know we're dealing with the delay. I apologize. I'm really not trying to cut you off. These are the simple moving averages that you're using, the 10 and 20 on the 1 minute chart for those that are
right.
asking.
Right.
Okay.
Now, one of the amazing things about reading these charts is what I call the fractal nature of them. You can see the same patterns regardless of the time horizon because people that are trading on different time horizons, they have the same emotions. So here what we're looking at is the emotions of the short-term investors. This would be your day traders. Now, if we look at the 1 year chart, we can apply the same type of reasoning, but here we're using the 10-day and the 20-day moving averages. But it's the same thing. If this chart was not labeled, you wouldn't know what the time horizon was. And you wouldn't even know which security it was because regardless of what people are trading, they feel the same emotions. And that's what we see on the charts. As a matter of fact, if we look over here, let me get rid of this so it's easier to read. Right. So where did NVIDIA, despite the fact that it had great numbers, where did it hit resistance yesterday? Right. This is yesterday.
Previous resistance area.
Yeah. Former resistance level. People that bought back here were underwater ever since. And they said to themselves, man, if I could ever get out of this thing at break even, I will. So they hold on to their losing position. When it rallies back, people from here who bought here are selling here. It recreates resistance at the level again. And the same thing here. So it's not a coincidence that this is where we stalled out yesterday. This morning, it looks like it's kind of not changed, but that's an emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here we see a different emotion. Well, here we have resistance at former resistance, but then the resistance can turn into support. And this is seller's remorse. People sell and they regret it when the price goes higher. And they say, if I could buy my shares back at the same price I sold them at, I will. So you got to remember, the media tries to always assign every single little move in the market to some kind of fundamental news or so forth and so on. I mean, clearly yesterday they had earnings over here, but most of the time, these moves are really just driven by the crowd psychology. You got to think about the guys down there on the floor in the old days, right? We look at that picture sometimes, and that's what the market is. It's just humans moving stuff around. The same stuff that used to go on down on the floor now goes on in the electronic markets. If I'm in my institutional trading days and I'm right here and I have a sell order and all of a sudden I get called by 5 guys that are all huge buyers, well, I'm going to cancel my sell order because I'm going to be anticipating that they're going to start to outbid each other and push the price up. And it has nothing to do with fundamentals or earnings. It just has to do with who's in the crowd at that given moment.
Yep. Really quickly, I got 2 quick questions here to kind of clean up. Number one, what signals the buy and the sell? Is it the actual crossover of the moving averages that you showed earlier?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then Brandy's asking, Mark, how much difference would it make using an EMA versus an SMA? We get this question all of the time, the difference here between EMAs and SMAs.
I mean, I would think that the EMA might be a little bit tighter because it's a type of weighted moving average, so it puts more emphasis on the more recent prices. But I think what you really have to do is um, just kind of test it and see, because I think every stock will kind of respond differently. One thing that's pretty interesting, which I've had some success with, is to use the regular simple moving average and then to use a weighted moving average of the same length.
Hmm.
Let's see here. Can't spell. Moving. Volume weighted. I don't want that.
The moving average weighted, it looks like, is right there near the top. Now,
All
that's
right.
different from exponential.
Yeah, exponential is a type of weighted moving average. There's like literally an infinite amount of ways you can calculate them.
Yeah.
So anyway, what we're doing here is we're using the simple moving average and the weighted moving average of the same time horizon. And the weighted moving average is going to put more emphasis on the more recent prices. So it's going to hug the price a little bit closer. So here is when the weighted moving average crosses above the simple moving average, that's your buy signal, and conversely on the sell signal. So this is something you may want to play around with. So again, it's same time horizon, but one is simple and one is weighted. And the weighted is going to be closer to the actual price. So that's where your signal would come from. So these are good in the sense that these moving average or what we would call trend following systems are one of the advantages is there's no subjectivity, right? It's just a number. And another advantage is they catch these long trends. The unfortunate thing about them is when you start to go sideways, you can get a lot of whipsaws or false signals. But very popular. So let's just go through the sectors and see what we can see. So here's the S&P, pretty quiet today. Not surprising, summer Friday. Things will probably really pick up after we get into Labor Day or past Labor Day.
Hey, all right. Mark confirming a lot of the stuff that I said earlier this week. I love this. You come back anytime, Mark. This is great.
Yeah, I mean, people go on vacations. I mean, when I was working, gosh, on a Friday in the summertime at like 2:00, the place would be a ghost town. Everyone would be gone.
Yeah.
Except for us schmuck traders that had to stay till 4:00. So here's our tech sector. Nice move yesterday because of NVIDIA. But to me, this looks like I don't see anything concerning here in the sense that it's not overbought. It's not at resistance. Those sentiment numbers are, like we said, pretty bullish. Here's our financial sector. And again, we talk about our technicals, right? Here we have what was a support level turns into a resistance level. People buy here and they regret it when the price goes lower. And they say, if it gets back up to my price, I'm going to sell to get out of break even. Here we can see we've kind of run into resistance. So this can stay intact because of remorseful buyers. People buy here, and as soon as they're done buying, the price goes down and they regret it. And they say, if I can get out of this thing at break even, I will. So it's really important to understand how just some price levels are important and some aren't. Most of the time, we don't know why. But if you can identify these levels, it's like having a map. Here's our healthcare. So we had to move lower yesterday, but we're still in this uptrend. For trend lines, a lot of people use them as like support and resistance. I don't really look at them that way. To me, a trend line is just like a graphical illustration that helps you to see that something is not going up anymore, right? If something is going up, what's the first thing it needs to do before it goes down? And the answer is, well, it needs to stop going up. Now, if you think about a way a chart is recorded, if you spend a couple of days or some time period going sideways, you're going to cross that line. And that's kind of just like your wake-up call, like, hey, I'm not going up anymore, which means I may be about to go down. We could see down here, support becomes resistance, resistance becomes support. People buy here, they're going to sell to get out here or break even. People sell here, they're going to buy their shares back here because they regretted it when the price went higher. But anyway, this sector looks pretty good to me. We'll go over to communication services, and this is where Google and Facebook live. And got a little bit of a sell-off off this resistance. So things can sell off of resistance because a resistance level is a price where there's a lot of people who want to sell, right? Think back on the floor in the crowd. There's a bunch of sellers out there, and they're all kind of looking around. And on the chart, you can tell sellers are coming into the market because it stopped going higher, right? And then the sellers start to get nervous. They're afraid someone else is going to undercut them. And that's who the buyers will go to. And they don't want to miss the trade. So they reduce their prices. And then other people see that and they reduce their prices. And it starts a snowball effect that pushes the price lower. So that's what's going on there. But again, I don't think this looks anything really like to be concerned about.
Good. I like hearing don't be concerned about it. That's definitely a positive.
Yeah, I mean, this looks a little weak here. This is our consumer discretionary. This is really dominated by Amazon and Tesla. So I would imagine one of them probably did not do very well yesterday. Let's look at Tesla.
Amazon sold off yesterday. That's actually creeping back up, though, a little bit. In fact, Izzy, I think I saw you out there. Amazon below your 260. What's the trade today? Might as well just get that on the record as well.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. This looks kind of interesting here because we're oversold a little bit. And now you might be saying, well, why are we oversold? The RSI is like right in the middle. Well, the RSI measures time period A to time period B. It just goes back in a straight line to wherever 14 time periods was ago. It doesn't know that we had this kind of big sell-off yesterday. So I'd be looking at this for a potential reversal.
Okay, there we go. We didn't even have to ask about Amazon. We got that covered here.
Yeah, you can even use the trend line as your trigger, right?
Yep. I'll tell you what, the trend lines have been extremely successful for us recently. We've used them on all different kinds of stocks. So
yeah, we'll continue to do that. The first people that I know that wrote about it, I'm sure it was before them, but back in the 1920s, this guy named Richard Schwabacher wrote this book That's kind of like the Bible of modern technical analysis. And even in that book, he says that he just is mystified how sometimes these trend lines can just be so accurate and so precise. And but if you think about it, the trend is really here. And just like people always overdo things, the buyers overdo it, then the sellers overdo it. I mean, overall, the trend is lower, but there are trends within trends. It's the old fractal nature. All right, so let's see. Industrials. Yeah, a little bit of consolidation here. But again, look at the levels. I mean, look how clear these things are. You don't need to be a former hedge fund trader or a trading master guru to see that. A lot of ex-hedge fund traders out there. All right, here's our consumer staples. Really, wow, not too much going on over here. And then I guess before we take some questions, we'll just do a quick check on oil, which has really kind of not been doing much. Oh yeah, speaking of trend lines, look at this, right? I mean, if you think about how big these markets are and the precision of this trend line, it's really kind of amazing. But there it is. And then natural gas.
They continue to amaze me.
What's that?
They continue to amaze me. Just the astounding accuracy of them and how price seems to revisit some of these trends that we start years ago, and it just goes right up to it, finds resistance or support there. It's wild. We see example after example after example of it.
Yeah, and what's important to remember for most people is that most of Wall Street is not looking at charts. People find that very surprising, but the vast majority of the people in the investment world, our institutional investment world, they're concerned with like quantitative modeling. They have these models and it spits out, all right, they put all their parameters and it spits out, all right, gold is worth $6,000 an ounce. So they'll say, all right, let's go buy it. Well, the other guru across the hall in a different fund, his model might say gold is worth $3,000 an ounce. So they'll go out there and sell it. And even the last firm I was at, there was me and I had two assistants that were the traders. And then there's about 20 analysts and none of them were looking at charts. And as a matter of fact, I just got a new student who is a risk manager at Baiynd. Baiynd is this big hedge fund. I think it's about $38 billion, a real quantitative fund. And the guy who runs it, Dimitri Baiynd, I'm not sure how you say it. But anyway, guy's a legend. So the risk manager told me a couple interesting things. He said he had never looked at a chart in his entire life. And he's probably a middle-aged guy. He probably was there for 20 or 30 years. Probably has a PhD in some statistics or something. But he said he had never looked at a charts, and he was just astonished with how accurate some of these things can be. And it's really, really mind-blowing. If you consider how big this market is and that most people aren't looking at charts and how many billions of things have to happen all over the world at the same time for these levels to manifest and stuff like this, it's really, it's like borders on the realm of like quantum mechanics and Einsteinian physics. It's I was watching William Shatner's The Unexplained.
Oh, it's a great show.
Yeah, I'm like, that's like totally my new thing. It's like watching all these unexplained things. But anyway, so they were talking to these guys that are literally gurus. They're the high priests of the Hindu religion. And because some of them supposedly live to be like 120 or 130, because when they meditate, they slow their metabolisms down so much. But anyway, one of the gurus was saying, everyone thinks they're doing their own thing, but we're all hooked together on some kind of like universal consciousness. And I was like, man, that sounds a lot like the stock market. I can't think of a better way to explain it. Right.
All right. I mean, stock market and shamans linked together in some way. That's great.
Yeah. That's kind of my new thing, man. I'm going to become a mystic. Right.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to see the different kinds of robes and dances that you do. That'll explain all the rain that we're going to get too. So, okay.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't be the first time I've gone to the other side on little something. But all right. Anyway, you want to take some questions?
Yes, I definitely do. I want to start with some charts here. I really want to start with MRVL. They were probably the big earnings report yesterday. I took a look at the chart earlier here. I just want to know what you see here in MRVL.
Where is it this morning? 222. So it's down around here. I don't know. I think it's probably going to go a little bit lower. I mean, I'd be looking right around here, 205, 206.
Okay. So maybe a dip here coming from MRVL off the back of those earnings.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's down around 223 in the pre-market.
Alan's got a question here for you. Mark, would people perceive NVIDIA way better if the stock was $450 with 12 billion tradable shares? Both scenarios equate to the same overall valuation.
Let's say that again.
So he's asking, here's the question. Would people perceive NVIDIA better if the stock was $450 with 12 billion tradable shares?
I don't know. I think that in a way, the higher price would make it less palatable for some people. That's why companies split their stocks. Um, and some people that are only buying like one or two shares might say, well, I'm not going to spend $400 on one share. So, but I don't know if it would make any like really significant difference. It's an interesting question, though.
Yeah, so he's basically, I think, and Alan, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think what you're insinuating, if the price were twice as much as it was today and the float was cut in half from where it is today, would people perceive it as being a better stock to trade? So he's saying the valuation doesn't change in this case. He's talking about the share structure.
No, I don't think so, because as long as there's liquidity in the shares, and there's plenty now, and even if theoretically it was half when it got higher, I mean that's still going to be tens of millions of shares every day. So I don't think it would make that much of a difference.
Okay, interesting. That's a good question, Alan. Another stock that we wanted to take a look at. Chat, if there's one that you want to take a look at, go ahead. But I'm just going off the stuff I know we want to take a look at. I think one that might be in play here today, I think we should look at PayPal and Affirm. Affirm had blowout earnings up nearly 20%. PayPal no longer looking to be acquired by Stripe and Advent. They're down 17%. So a little bit different.
Yeah, this is an interesting chart here. And I don't usually look at volume that much. A lot of people do, but the conventional wisdom is that if a stock is trending in one direction and the volume is increasing, that the trend will continue. But I've seen plenty of times where things have continued to trend for a long time on declining volume. But here, if I could figure this out, darn it. Let me try this again. So anyway, the stock here down a little bit, but let me see if I can get this volume up here because there's a pretty interesting lesson here. All right, let's see here. Move to new pane below. All right, now sometimes you see these outliers in volume, and it comes at the end of a trend. And right here, we can see on PayPal, there's an example of that. And that could end up being a bullish thing when you have this big spike in volume here. And as a matter of fact, that's one of the things I wrote about this week for Dick's Sporting Goods in one of the stocks of the day. Because what you see here is basically the sellers capitulate. They're sick and tired of watching this thing go down, right? I mean, I could speak from experience. You get a order to sell 100,000 shares and you sell 10 and you wait for it to pop a little bit more, but it just goes down and you sell another 10 and just keeps trying to lower. Finally, you just call up your broker and you just say, hey, man, just get rid of this thing. I'm sick of it.
Just sell it.
Yeah, just make it go away. And as a result, you get these big volume spikes. And the reason why that could be a bullish thing is because once the smoke clears, and people think, well, that news was bad, but the market overreacted. I'm going to go in there and buy some. Well, they have a hard time finding sellers because the sellers are all gone. So that could end up being a bullish thing. And in this case, it was. For the Dick's Sporting Goods, I wrote about this. Oh, I don't know. I think it was either Wednesday or maybe it was yesterday. But if we see here, we had this big spike in volume right here. Yeah. So, I mean, when you see an outlier like that, I think it was like close to 40 million shares traded.
Mm-hmm.
And now, again, if people come in and think, well, you know, that news was bad, but the market overreacted, let's go in and buy some. And it's like, hey, where are all the sellers? And the buyers have no choice but to be really aggressive and really jack the price up if they want to.
Does it ever take a session or two for them to kind of feel comfortable doing that? Like you're looking at this, it's not, it happened one day, looks really big, volume's really big, move down is really big. But do you think that the buyers might say, hey, I'll wait this out a day or two to see if the sellers are done or if we get more selling tomorrow?
Yeah, some people might. The trouble is you could end up missing a move because when the buyers come in, it could move pretty quickly. But here I would say 52. Yeah, this is getting hit pretty good. But I would think that we're going to be looking at some support around 52. This is another thing you see a lot in markets. When something gaps down like this, it becomes a resistance level, like literally to like a point here. And that's because people didn't just buy it and have it like trickle down slowly. People buy it and the next day it's like the market's just slapping you in the face. So you get like double secret super buyer remorse. And the second they can get out at break even, they take it. But anyway, this is an important price level, 52. So I would think if we get down to there, I'd be looking for a potential bounce.
Okay. Possible bounce 52, PayPal. The other stock there, I guess somewhat related, kind of, Affirm, ticker AFRM. They reported earnings yesterday, by the way, which is why they're trading higher here today.
And these guys are, look
86 and a half.
Right there. So that's right at resistance from this back here.
Amazing how it did that, Mark.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence that that's where the sellers came out of the woodwork. It's amazing stuff. And before I get going, I'll do my old history plug here. If we look back at this chart of the S&P going back into the 1800s, it is basically indistinguishable from a chart today. And if it wasn't labeled, you want to know what this is. I could say, hey, look at this. Look at the daily chart of this new quantum stock I'm watching, or look at the 1 year chart of this new quantum stock. But just like now, back then, people had emotions. So whether you're trading gold in 2026 or you're trading on the S&P in the 1880s, people get the same emotions. And that's why you can see we get support at a former resistance level, support at a former resistance level, support intact, resistance is intact. So it's pretty amazing stuff, right?
Yeah, it sure is. Can you zoom out from that? Can you zoom out from that pretty considerably for me?
Yeah, you want to see the whole thing?
Well, yeah, just zoom out. I want to get the idea of the overall shape here. Okay, that gives me a pretty good idea of the overall shape. Will you do me a big favor and type in something like IWM?
IWM?
Yeah, just change the ticker to IWM.
Oh, I don't know how far back that's going to go.
That doesn't matter. That seems to be looking like the very same trend. Maybe that's just indices. Can we check an individual name like Goldman Sachs, ticker GS?
All right, let's do.
If you zoom out a little bit there too. Yeah, gosh. I'll tell you what, Mark, one of the things that I've noticed here from you kind of flipping through these tickers, they all seem to be going up and to the right.
Yeah. But bear in mind, though, there are long times where the market really doesn't move. I mean, Goldman Sachs was at 170 in 2006. It was also at 170 in 14 years later, right? So it's easy to talk about buy and hold when the market's at an all-time high like it is now. Comparing that all the time. But eventually the market will start to go down, and all of a sudden everyone's going to talk about active management instead of buy and hold.
Well, I mean, even in that Goldman Sachs chart, it looks like when it plunged to 100, that was the time to buy, right? Buy it when it came down. You talk about that all the time, especially when the sellers are exhausted. That's when the price is likely to reverse.
Yeah.
It looks like no matter what chart you pick, you're conveying the exact same thing.
It's because people don't, because people are people.
Sorry, Bears.
Anyway, I do got to jump on a 9 o'clock call here now.
All good, Mark. Take care of yourself. Thanks for humoring me there. Sorry, Bears. It goes up and to the right.
Okay.
All right, Mark. Have
week.
a good weekend. All right, that is Mark Putrino, everybody. Let's go ahead and load SPY back up here. We're 9 o'clock. We're waiting on 13. He'll be here any minute. We'll go ahead and roll through some of the other charts that you folks asked for. It looks like Workday, Netflix, and MRVL. We already took a look at MRVL. Let's do Workday first here, and then we'll do Netflix. And then we can take whatever charts you're looking at. Here's the Workday chart, down another percent here at 191. Really, the key for me is holding on to the 20-day moving average. The other thing, we definitely want to kind of hold this area. We got a little bit of a gap in here from like 187 down to 179. So I sure would want to kind of hold this area to see if we can make a move towards that 500. I'll be honest, though, this is me just looking at the chart. This has nothing to do with the fund. I don't like follow this company at all. Not at all. Now, the other thing to keep it to note here is that as we started to come up off this bottom, which corresponds with the volume point of control, we went right through this low volume area on the volume profile chart. And look what happened when we got back up to the big volume shelf. We stopped there and we came back in a little bit. So now we're going to start, the more we trade in this area, the more we're going to expand these horizontal bars, perhaps adding to the shelf here. But I just think it's notable that over the long term, or over a daily term, not a day trade, but a larger time frame than that, we basically moved from one volume shelf to another. And we're kind of right in the middle there. So something to consider. Netflix was the other chart that Izzy wanted to take a look at. Here's Netflix. We just had a really great discussion with Mark about trend lines. Netflix very, very clearly in a downtrend at the moment. Today, Netflix actually was closed at 79.84. It's a little bit higher here today. We'll see if this can get above the 100. The way I would look at Netflix here is, can it just continue to take out some of these moving averages? If we're going to continue to move up, we're probably going to do it in a slow fashion here with the staircase. We've talked ad nauseum about the content problem here with Netflix and all of that stuff. So I think any move up is probably going to be gradual like this. And I think you can really kind of look at the moving averages to determine that. 100 seems to be next here, 200 at 187. And then we actually have the 500 interacting with the trend line here. That'll probably change by the time we end up trading up there. So Netflix still in a downtrend. Fundamentally, still don't think they have their problem solved. Didn't they release that Grand Theft Auto trailer? Was that yesterday? I can't remember if that was yesterday or the day before. Doesn't look like Netflix responded to that at all. Pretty sure this was yesterday. Let's take a look at Take-Two. Yeah, this was yesterday. Take-Two initially moved down, then went higher and is higher here today. I still think that this kind of rolls over here. Netflix, despite carrying that trailer, no change. Didn't even care about that. Didn't even care about that. Netflix has got an issue. This stock used to be in massive favor. In my opinion, it's fallen out of favor. Until it can recapture that, I think it's got an issue. All right, let's go ahead and start pre-market pulse. Boom, there's 13. Happy Friday. How are you?
Hey, happy Friday. Good morning. Good morning, Ryan. And how is everybody in the chat? How are we doing today?
We're doing good, man. It is Friday, fun day. We've got some good vibes here. The SPY looks like it's trying to break out of being down. NASDAQ, same deal. Dow's already positive. So far, so good.
Yeah, we did have those earnings with NVIDIA kind of turn things around a bit here. Recapture that 20-day SMA on the SPY, or recapturing a trend line. We're coming up to some previous all-time highs. The next one is 773.41. Just got to get through this resistance that was put in by that candle, that we gapped down from back on, not this week, but the last week, Monday to Tuesday. That gap down created a bit of a resistance area at 772.50. 772, 772.50, right in that area. So we can get through that and recapture this previous all-time high. I think we're going to maybe continue upwards for a little bit longer.
Okay,
but still think that we need to retest some lows. I don't like the fact that we haven't put in some meaningful pullback or correction. We've only come down. Let's see here, at the most we've done like a 2.25% move down off the all-time high. So I think we need to see more than that. But that's just my opinion.
Okay. Really quick, didn't even realize, Barb, it's your birthday. Happy birthday, Barb.
Happy birthday, Barb.
Yeah, happy birthday. All right, 13, you want to hit movers? We've got a couple more requests here from the chat on some bigger stocks, so we can always do that. Hood and Corning, we can do that here. But do you want to knock these movers out first?
Sure, because I'm looking at the movers list and it is garbage. Like, there is not a lot to get real excited about. It's mostly just a bunch of biotechs, maybe some other names in different sectors here and there, but it's not a very good looking list this morning to me. Highest one is Finger Motion, which is up 60% pre-market, and that's a penny stock. And then the next one that's actually, over $1 is QNRX.
Okay.
And that one's up about 39%. So I don't know how much we're going to get out of this. It looks like QNRX is trying to recapture the VWAP. So in my view, that's what needs to happen here. It did, when I look at a daily chart for this one, it did climb up to, in the after hours yesterday, a March high where it found resistance. So there's potential for that again. But first things first, we got to see this climb back over VWAP if we're going to get any moves upwards. And you do have some resistance in the, where was that? I think it was the 7, basically about where it's at. There was a resistance back from February earlier this year. And the price, like I said earlier this morning, it took us up toward to the March 25th high. So that's about the range that we're in right now. We still have to get past the 200-day SMA or EMA, which is at 721. I think we need to see a recapture of that VWAP before we see anything else. So that's what I'd be waiting for.
Okay. Tell you what, the chart sure looks like VWAP is one of the keys here. There was an actual catalyst on this, by the way. Quinton Pharmaceuticals announced that it had entered into a securities purchase agreement with new and existing healthcare-focused institutional investors to raise up to $50 million in gross proceeds. So
they're going to dilute.
It seems like it, although I wonder how dilutive it'll actually be. Quion Pharmaceuticals advances interim analysis of first 6 patients, only 6, to complete 12 weeks of treatment, met the pre-specified alpha-adjusted target for a primary endpoint with statistical significance. So this seems like good news here. And it also said that key secondary endpoint of global impression and change also achieve significance at week 12. So we've got some good data out of here with a little bit of dilutive stuff on this. The end result here, stock is up 36%, but as 13 just cut right to the chase on, the VWAP is the story here. And if this thing can't get above the VWAP, I don't know that you have another run towards any of these highs.
Now, this securities purchase agreement, because I'm looking further down the news feed, it says it's a private placement. So I don't think that's dilution then.
That's what I was saying. I was wondering how dilutive it was going to be. I hadn't gone through it, though, so I didn't have all the stats in front of me. I wasn't going to tell you were wrong without knowing.
Yeah, usually when you get into these purchase agreements, it's usually kind of those at the market purchase agreements. Yeah. And that's what I thought that was when you had first said that. But now we've seen private placement. Maybe that's not going to be as dilutive as I thought.
So stock's up 37% here, but as 13 mentioned, VWAP is key. I'll take the next one here, 13. I don't think we need anything on it. This is Wheeler. It's garbage. We've traded it a bunch of times. It's micro float, garbage, manipulated crap. Don't bother. Next, AEMD. This is Atheon Medical. This actually did trade up towards 340 in the after hours yesterday. Tried to do that again here today. Couldn't, rolled over, coughed up the VWAP, and actually looked kind of bearish here. Now, I didn't see any news on this, right? They're going to present at this conference, but this was back in August. This was August 19 and 20. This was a week ago at this point. So all of that should already be bled through here. I don't see any other news or any other forms on this. So I don't really know what's driving this here. Quick peek at the short interest. 9% of the float is shorted on this name. Oh, I grabbed the wrong thing. You got to be kidding me. And 1 day to cover. Float on this one, micro float, under 1,709,000.
Yeah, I think that's it. Just I agree. I don't see any news, but it's just maybe one of those ones that's in the theme of it's a micro float. It's under 5 million market cap. It's in healthcare, so there's been a lot of attention on that. It just could be getting pumped. I don't know that for a fact, but absent any real news here, that's what I'd be leaning towards.
Okay. Next here is going to be Gap. The Gap is creating a gap. Does it actually continue to go? Do we get Gap and go here? Question mark. 25 seems to be the trigger for that. Gap shares trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q2 adjusted EPS results and raised their fiscal 26 EPS guidance above estimates. Also, the company narrowed its fiscal 26 sales guidance above estimates. So Gap here, maybe this goes. We'll see. Didn't we see one of these other retailers that was higher just got smoked out of the open? I know Dick's was down and went lower, but I could have sworn there was like a retailer that was higher and then gave everything back as soon as the market opened.
Don't
Maybe
know about. I'm not sure about the retailer. I don't think it was Abercrombie. I think that one was continue to do well. But another thing that happened with Gap is that their Old Navy business also received a new CEO, and now we've run up and beyond the 200-day SMA on the chart here. That's also a move over the 50-week SMA. Coming up to some resistance, I would say at about $26. Looks like the next spot up from here. That's where I think we might start to see some resistance if we continue to push up after the open. We may end up coming back in to test that 200-day SMA because this is now extended, kind of up in the higher areas of how it's historically been extended. So we could still see some slightly upward price action, but I think given the move up here overnight, we end up seeing a little bit more selling out of the gate. And I would watch for that 200-day SMA to hold.
Okay. That's good stuff there on the gap chart. Also worth noting, 15% of the float is shorted, 5.73 days to cover. You might have squeeze on this.
Yeah.
You might have a squeeze potential on this one as well.
So to the upside, I would say maybe the 26 resistance. To the downside, you have the 200-day and the 500-day SMAs for support.
One of the chatters asked about this mover. I wasn't going to cover it, but since it got asked about, might as well. This was GP Gary. You're asking for some thoughts on Cellularity. Sorry, man, I don't have any off the top of my head. I know the stock had a monster day yesterday. And then the news here yesterday is it begins U.S. production of MuCell Innovations at its New Jersey facility. They're trading higher after the company announced a U.S.-based manufacturing collab with Cellularity will undertake activities to establish U.S. production of Dezawa MuCells at Fortham Park, New Jersey facility. So, and then they also said that the potential for 300 million plus. So I would say on the theme here of doing it here at home, this is going to receive some, positive sentiment on that. I don't really have any thoughts on where this is going to go. I don't know much about this, unfortunately. So I certainly can't give you a target or anything like that. Quick peek at the short interest on this one, 6.5%. Not really a whole lot of anything. The 15 days to cover comes on the average volume of 25,000. I think you can ignore that. Average 100-day volume is 3.5 million. Today it's done 5 million. So I don't think you're going to have any trouble with that days to cover reading. I almost think that's kind of a phantom number. Float on this one, 6.19 million. 13, do you have any thoughts on CELU?
Well, for some reason, I still have a level marked off at 250. We ran right up to that and found resistance. So apparently whatever I did in the past is still working with this one. But there is also this issue of non-compliance on the NASDAQ. So they received a notice over their delinquent Q1 and Q2 2026 Form 10Q filings, and they are being requested to submit its recompliance plan by September 4th, and they may grant an exception to limit the maximum 100 calendar day remedy until November 16th. So you have a couple of milestones here that could end up sending the stock up. We've seen a lot of names move up on NASDAQ recompliance, which is I've always found funny, but it does happen. So often. There you do. You have a couple of dates there to keep an eye on with this one. Certainly the news is great, but I'm sure NASDAQ, staying on the NASDAQ is going to be great too. So September 4th and November 16th, a couple of dates to keep an eye out for, as well as some more of these reports about NASDAQ recompliance.
Okay. All right, there you go. CELU. I did notice that Resolve AI, which we've been talking about recently, was on the movers chart here this morning. Nothing to take note of yet. Let's see. We've talked about 3 and 310 being areas here before. Those are still the areas. Maybe it pushes through this. Maybe it gets going, but I still think we're looking at the same areas here. What do you have?
For me, I'm just waiting for their this conference call. I mean, one of the things that I talked a lot about when it came to this one is, when they guided their last earnings, and I thought that, well, this is, very undervalued if they are going to hit that mark. So that was my opinion. we'll see if that opinion ends up being correct. We have earnings in 4 days, and I'd expect them to either reaffirm their guidance or tell us what's going to happen. But that's what I'm waiting for. Let me look at the chart here, because we did talk about resistance levels.
Really quickly, they do have news here, as Zach is saying. Resolve AI announces a global strategic alliance with Tech Mahindra to deploy agentic commerce solutions for enterprises. I don't know if that's really moving it, but there you go. They had news here this morning.
Yeah, I want to. They're expecting 127 million of first half revenue, and fiscal year 2026 revenue of 360 million. Which would be a substantial increase over their year over year. So with that in mind, I thought that when you look at this chart, and just look at a daily chart with this thing, you can see that it's kind of been going sideways in a bit of a range for some time now. And it's basically been almost since they had their last report. They think that was in March when it slightly moved up. So that's what was weird to me, is that it didn't go higher on that last report. So I thought, well, let's just see what happens here, since we're stuck in this sideways consolidation.
Okay. All right. Good stuff on Resolve. I think that pretty much does it here for the movers. You're right. This was really kind of not great. So I think we'd probably be better off using the last 12 minutes here prior to the open to going over charts that folks want to see. Is there anyone that you'd like to start with, 13?
Well, let's see. There's a lot that we covered yesterday. Curious to see how that Burlington stores trade works out for Chris.
Well, I think he did that yesterday. I think that was okay. Yeah, he was talking about a previous trade. So real quick here. So let's talk about this here real quick. Then I'll have you break down the Ulta chart, which is where we're going to end here. Okay. On Happy Hour yesterday, we had a discussion about a trade that had taken place earlier in the day. We were recapping Burlington stores here, ticker BURL. And what you'll notice is that going into yesterday, we were basically sitting right at the 200-day moving average. Our expert options trader here, Big Abees, was talking about how he was watching the volume and he was watching Burlington. And this is very interesting. Burlington weak in the pre-market. All pre-market, this thing was weak. Right out of the open, we traded right back up to where we were. Remember, we were at the 200-day moving average on the daily chart. We traded right back up to that. Couldn't get above it, couldn't close above it, couldn't do anything, reversed, and then rolled over. And it was this that he took a put trade on, which ended up paying quite well. Now, there's nothing that we can do in hindsight, obviously, but one of the other stocks that we looked at that had a similar type setup was Ulta. Ulta reported earnings last night. They were actually pretty good earnings, too. Stocks down here a little bit less than 1%. It was a beat top and bottom line. Looks like we also got some price targets. So Bank of America maintaining the buy. They did lower their price target, but to 650, that's 120 points above where it's at now. Goldman Sachs maintained their buy and raised their price target on the back of that earnings, 667. So if we go back to the chart here, Ulta, not exactly the same as the Burlington setup, but very, very close to its 200-day here. And I think part of the thought is if we trade up at all and can't get above this 200, that might be entry for puts. If it looks like this is just going to be totally weak today and we're going to fall through the 20-day moving average, which are only 3 points and change above, then maybe that leads for puts or signals puts. But 13, what do you think here about the chart? I'm going to step away. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. I guess we'll go to Ulta. So one of the things I think I was pointing out yesterday is that it looks like there's a bit of a inverse head and shoulders pattern happening here on the daily. Now, it doesn't look as well formed as I'd prefer, but it's still kind of showing a bit of that pattern forming here. So we'll just go with that for now and see if we get a resolution, because what I would want to see happen next is a move back up through that 200-day SMA, so a move up through 560 and eventually up to about 625, 620, 625. That would be ideal. Whether or not we get all that, I don't know. But just based on the way we have this pattern forming here, to me, I think that's the move that needs to happen. let's look at this intraday. So we kind of whipped around. So we popped on earnings. We gave it back. Let me see here my notes. It didn't meet EPS midpoint estimates. Margin compression was expected here too. Could take the price down to the 50-day SMA. So that was in my notes. Let's see here where we're at. So that would mean that we could, on the downside, go as low as 500 again. Whereas to the upside, if we recover and hold this 20-day SMA and end up going beyond the 200-day SMA, then we are set up for a break to the upside. And that area between 580 and 620 is the gap that we are looking to fill there. So that's all predicated on a recapture of that 200-day SMA. So that's what would need to happen next. Otherwise, if we can't do that and we start to come back in, then that 50-day SMA is where I would see support. Now, as far as Burlington goes,
Sure.
This one, I don't know why that's not switching it for me. This one was, really oversold, in my opinion. And if you look at a daily chart, you have the 500-day SMA that has been providing a lot of great support since 2024, ever since the price recaptured this in December of 2023. So we have this daily moving average that has been the support for every downturn it's had since that time. So unless something is different now, I think that we're also going to see that 500-day SMA provide some support, even if we don't exactly touch it. I think the area is going to be attractive enough for buyers to step in. The RSI is sub 30. I mean, really sub 30. It's a 22.5. So I would expect at the very least that a bounce is coming. Whether or not the price is able to recapture the 200-day SMA in short order, I don't know if we're going to get that, this week or next week. My guess is maybe not. But as long as that 500-day SMA holds up, I think that is a great case for this to turn around and start recapturing some levels.
Okay. All right. So there you go. Possible setups, Burlington and Ulta. And then here, I'll go to another chart where I have those EMAs, Billy. Billy was suggesting here for Ulta. I think you meant to make this a question mark, or no, you meant to make this a period. Ulta pullback 9 EMA on the 4-hour chart. So here's Ulta. Let's go to the 4-hour chart. Okay. 9 EMA is going to be the pink line. It looks like it's at it right there. So Billy, I'm trying to understand what you're saying here. You're thinking this is going to pull back from this 9 EMA because we can't get above it? Is that the thought here? That's what it looks like to me. We're basically right beneath it. CYCU just jumped, announced a 148 reverse split. Take a quick peek at that while I'm here.
CYCA, huh? Cytocorp.
Conqueror, don't you see that I have these added on another one?
So wait, did this they reverse splitting because they're coming back from the brink? Is that what it is? I mean, I guess I'm just not because it says it's 4 cents here for me. It must not be split adjusted yet.
Yeah, I've got it at $4 here. CYCU. All right, what else did you folks want to take a look at?
Oh, CYCU. I thought you said CYCA. I'm sorry.
Oh, you typed in the wrong ticker? Okay.
I typed in the wrong ticker. I thought
Gotcha.
you meant something else. Sorry for laughing. I thought this was a different ticker. Because it would have made sense.
You don't have to apologize for laughing. That's the best medicine.
At 4 cents, when I'm on this other one I'm looking at, and you said $4, I was like, oh, it must be split adjusted. All right, let's look at the actual one this time. Oh geez. So this one not really, all that much better, but still not 4 cents. Looks like it's trying to trade back up. You have resistance coming up in the higher 4 area. 5 looks like a resistance level. If it can't get past, I would say 430. There may be, because there could be some resistance there. This might end up trading back lower, but that's This is what I'm seeing here. There are some other upside resistance levels we can examine if we do manage to get beyond 5. But I think you're going to start to run into some resistance starting at 430 into the 450 area.
Okay. Zach asking, do we think we get a numb market until Warsh, which is 10 a.m. Eastern time?
He said CYCA was what he typed.
Did I say CYCA? I could have sworn I said CYCU, but I suppose maybe I got the letter wrong there. Nonetheless.
J-Ho, let's go. Let's go. Come on.
The jokes are going to be good today, folks. The jokes are going to be good today. I'm ready for it.
What tie is he going to wear?
I can't believe that's like an internet thing, but the internet does everything like that.
That means we're cutting. All right. So what are we?
Wherever you want. We got less than 3 minutes till we open here. I think we've covered pretty much all of the movers. Bob, I know you asked about TNON, ticker TNON here. That's basically just one of these pop and drops. Looks like it just went right to 8, came all the way back in, lost the VWAP on it. Did we have news on this thing? TNON Medical prices a $3 million private placement offering of just over 1 million shares at 502.
I think
accompanying warrants as well.
I think there was a question earlier about Rocket Lab and when that's going to get going.
RKLB?
Yeah, I haven't been keeping an eye on their progress with Neutron. I've been a little bit more focused on SpaceX because I love following what they're doing here. But Rocket Lab, I'm already in, and if their prices continue to come in, we'll certainly look to add some more because after that Iridium acquisition or merger, I think that's really going to set them up to be competitive, not nearly on the same scale as SpaceX, but they'll be able to compete against to a certain capacity things like Starlink and their Falcon 9 launches. I don't think that they're anywhere near being on that kind of level with Starship because that's just a whole other era or matter of capacity in and on itself. But Rocket Lab, this is still working on turning around here, and I think a lot of it is hinges on that Neutron rocket working out. So whenever we start to get some indication that that's going to finally start flying, because they already got some customers booked up for that, and we need to see that rocket start going. So it's on a trend line here that I have going back to pretty much the low of Liberation Day low, and I drew it through the November 24th low of 2025, and that's just kind of the trend line that it's on right now. If we lose that level, there's support down in the 50s, like at $50, $58. Some pretty much right at 50. There's a lot of consolidation in the past, so I am ready for if there's some more prices come in. It had a huge move earlier in the year that pulled it back down, so it may just be trying to find its bottom here before it's finally gets. All right, a lot of it is on that Neutron.
Positivity for the open here from one of our viewers. Ghosty D, feeling like it's going to be a great day. Let's do that. Took the day off of work, about to golf, and my cousin-in-law caught 2 touchdowns last night.
Nice.
That's how we start off a Friday. Steve, let's go. It is showtime. All right, market is open. Let's see what we're doing. CRM, Affirm. You're looking at Gap? Sorry, 13.
It's going. It's climbing higher.
So is Affirm.
25.24 is the high right now in Gap.
Your finger penny stock up 90% here. And looks like it's coming in from that high pop right out of the open. I'm going to avoid the penny stocks today here, folks.
And hey, don't let us tell you not to trade something. If you want to trade it, you go ahead. Just please understand the risks with some of these junkier names that are under $1 and don't have a whole lot of volume usually.
No doubt. No doubt. All right. A firm that is above its pre-market high, CRM, testing its intraday high from yesterday.
Now, QNRX is the one that we wanted to see get above that VWAP. They popped up, tried to get over it, and so far rejected here. Now, if it comes back in, we have the 65 EMA that could provide support. So we'll see what ends up happening here with QNRX.
Okay. Interesting call purchase here on SK Hynix. March of next year, they bought the 235 calls, bought 431 of them, spent nearly $700,000. SK Hynix, out of the money call buy for March. That's the most interesting, unusual option trade that I've seen since the open here. Klarna, this is moving higher. Klarna was higher in the pre-market and higher now. The insider buy, I think, Jay, you mentioned this one earlier. Big insider buy there on Klarna.
Palantir was getting mentioned. That's up out of the gate here. It was it opened a little bit lower than where it closed yesterday. Came right up to that same trend line. Still getting resistance from that. And to me, this looks like it's potentially going to turn around here. So I think Palantir comes in. The last time we hit this trend line, that's exactly what it did. This was back in March earlier this year. It ended up leading to a 15% haircut before we got a bounce. So just keep that in mind here. It's great that we got this pop up here, but we are at a resistance level, and we're not necessarily like overbought, but we're really on the doorstep of being there. So any higher prints could be contributing to that overbought position.
Okay, sounds good. And then Jay also mentioning here, Affirm probably helps the Klarna move too. Would agree with that.
We got
just keep screaming higher here. Sorry, 13.
We got QNRX trying to push over that VWAP again. See if it gets going.
Tesla calls getting swept up here. I think these are, let me check that again. Yeah, these are the calls that expired today. Tesla straight up out of the open here with some call buying, 0 DTE call buying on that. And then another mention here, Smell bringing up ESTC, which is Elastic. This actually interesting chart formation here. Take a look at this, 13. Not quite an all-time high, but a nice little island here. So again, just a reminder on how we trade this formation. Wait for this daily candle to form. Add it to your watch list for next week. See if it retests the bottom end of the range. If it does and it holds, high probability for an upside move on that. I don't know if that's going to happen yet, but one to watch here. This is a pretty decent mention on the daily formation.
I like the 50 crossing the 200 to the upside. That's a golden cross for this stock. Yep. That follows the death cross that it had in April of 2005. So that's a good amount of time to have this resolve lower and then cross back over again. So if we are going to continue to the upside here, which by the way, this is pretty extended, so I don't think expecting some downside is necessarily out of the question. But if this continues higher, it looks to me like you have some resistance coming between 115 and 120.
A little bit of a move back down to hold the bottom end of the candle should actually do wonders for the RSI, especially if it takes place over a couple of sessions rather than just one. All right, going back to the main workspace here, Izzy shouting out Amazon already. Let's see what happened here with Amazon. We talked about this being lower here. It looks like this did try to go up to 260. Couldn't quite yet, but a fairly decent move, 2-point move here so far.
I don't know if this is the right one, but CYCU had a pop out of the gate. So that took it up to 424. Great if that's the right one. Meanwhile, you had, oh man, look at this in the gap here. So gap pops up to 2580. Finds resistance, which is just on the doorstep of that 26 resistance that I had mentioned in the pre-market, and now we're coming back in to visit that 200-day SMA, which I have at 24. We are down in the 24 handle now after just briefly being in the 25 handle. I think that's where you may end up getting support if we're going to turn around here with gap. Keep an eye on that 200-day SMA.
Cut. All right, good stuff. GP Gary saying that Intel is hot out of the open here. That's ticker INTC. We'll take a look at that. This is basically trading up to where it closed. QNRX 13.
Yep, we got our move over that.
There we go.
VWAP a little bit higher now, coming up to that first area of resistance in the 830s. So if we do get some resistance and the price comes back in, we're going to want to see this hold above the VWAP. We don't get that, then may need to evaluate this trade in the near term. But if we hold above VWAP, that could set us up for some a little bit more upside here. So far, that's what we've got going on here with QNRX.
Okay, and Jay saying for CRM, there's a re-rating going on here with CRM. And indeed, this great earnings yesterday. We popped and ran. Now we're above yesterday's intraday high again here, Jay. Let me know. I know you don't do price targets. Let me know if you think there's still a multi-day run here in CRM.
Okay, so if this is going to continue, because we already are getting extended here in this name, but if this continues, then you got resistance coming at 270.
Okay, that's 13 points away from where we're at. Lance is mentioning now now is continuing to pop as well. Some of those software names are starting to do better. Take a look here at Microsoft real quick. Microsoft is higher. Ulta from our earnings plays here. Ulta looks like that is coming back in. Watch that low there. The after hours low from Ulta. SPY is curling up here. So I don't have a break of structure on the SPY, but I do have kind of a bullish trend, and the 0 DTE indicator did throw a couple of signals here. My bot won't trade that without the break of structure, but a nice little move up here in SPY.
All right, so QNRX, we got pretty close to that resistance of 830. I think the high is 825, so just barely hit that. So we could get some brief pullback here. It's kind of dancing around 8 at the moment, but if we can continue to with this volume and push up, okay, now there's that pull. So if we can hold this VWAP and get enough volume to push through that 830, then the next resistance area looks to be up in the 9s. Maybe 9 to 925.
Okay.
Yeah.
SPY trading up to the 772.50 high that was made in the pre-market. We'll see if it has the strength to get through that. That would actually break the structure to the upside. IWM does have an upside break of structure early on here. Kind of a choppy trend, though, for IWM. And remember, Anne-Marie, you had said you are anticipating a lot of chop here today. So maybe don't front run any of these moves. Wait for it to confirm that. MRVL, our big earnings report from yesterday, looks like a little dip down to the pre-market lows and a rebound here. We'll see if this can hold. I'd still be watching this low area here, 220-ish.
Ulta dropped down, printed a low of 518.47. It's trying to bounce. AEMD, one of the movers, I believe this is pushing up higher, still holding its VWAP.
Lots of chop. That VWAP there.
Yep, lots of chop. Been choppy all week.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. Qs are trying to bounce. We'll see if that's enough to change around and break the structure here in the pre-market and go higher. Seeing some Meta calls go off here this morning. Microsoft calls as well. Both of those are higher. What's NVIDIA doing here? NVIDIA actually dipped in a little bit and got bought also. Sure looks like they're buying some of these tech names here. I wonder if this is a head fake. MRVL trying to break its pre-market structure as well. SPY still can't get over 772.5.
That was a big drop on that Monday to Tuesday. QNRX trying to come back up. Let's see if it's holding VWAP still. Let's see if we can break through that 830 area. We've got a seller on the way at 810.
SpaceX, nice quick reversal here. SpaceX trying to go higher also.
Still waiting on that static fire for SpaceX. They are planning to try it again today here, but that is really starting to put pressure on their monthly cadence for Starship launches. They have until Monday, so if they do a static fire today, there might be a chance, but I'm starting to lose confidence we'll see a test flight this in August.
SPY did break that pre-market high. New high here, 772.61. SPY also showing higher highs and higher lows here.
QNRX putting pressure on the VWAP, kind of losing it right now. Trying to get some support from an area beneath it. Still have a little less than 4 minutes left in this candle, so it might be able to pull itself back up.
SPY still pushing up, does have a break of structure to the upside.
Yeah, and it kind of might just be that way, Zach, and until Monday when we have the end of the month and there's window dressing, and then we have the inflows on Tuesday. So it could just be that we're just waiting for next week. I don't know how great the rest of the day is going to be, because the Fed really has.
I'll be right back 1 second.
Okay, because I don't think the economic symposium has necessarily moved markets a whole bunch in the past. Maybe that's going to be different with Warsh, but that's the real big thing that we're waiting on here. All right, so QNRX trying to pull itself back over VWAP. Still a little less than 3 minutes left in this candle. Resolve AI trying to do the same thing, pull itself over the VWAP. CYCU, this thing is back and forth. Alta came down to 515.05, trying to reverse. Let's see what that looks like on the daily chart here. So not quite down to the 50-day SMA, but that's where I was thinking it may end up going here. We'll see if that happens. QNRX back over the VWAP. Gap. Looking for this gap might come back down to the 65 EMA again. It's been kind of riding that this whole pre-market. It's actually ever since the after hours, that's been the support. So as long as that holds up, may still maintain this price action here in the 24 handle, or maybe even go higher. But got to hold that 65 EMA. Wheeler not really doing a whole lot yet. There's a lot of sellers between 140 and 145, just a ton of shares. So you need to see some better volume in Wheeler, WHLR, if we're going to get back up over 150. Resolve AI trying to climb. There's a seller. There's a series of sellers. Seems like every 5 cents from $3. So in the 305 area, you have a little bit of a chunk of sellers, then at 310, and then a big amount of sellers up at the 315, 320 area. EMD pulling a bit here. Alto looks like that still may end up coming down to some of those lows from the after hours. Yeah, it's probably going to how it's going to be BJM. It's probably going to be I'll just leave it at that. You're probably right. Now I think that's a good point, Marcus. And I didn't say it every time, but typically they don't do that. But there was that one time, when he did tank the markets. I think at Jackson Hole. Trying to think what year that was. Powell's comments do really move markets, and I think there was one time in 2019 where he moved markets as well. And that's not a bad idea. Kind of if things aren't looking great, and it's not volume's not looking good, hard to kind of enter trades or really do much of anything, then that's probably the right move. Sit on your hands, wait for some better volume days to present themselves to us. Maybe we get some of that on Monday when we get end of month window dressing.
You might also get a change of sentiment when Warsh comes on. I mean, I don't know for sure. I'm just saying things might change. We talked about this being choppy, really kind of leading into that. That's exactly what we're getting so far. So no surprise there.
Still, QNRX still holding above the VWAP despite trading underneath it briefly. So as long as that continues, and we may still see this move over 830.
PayPal, we are getting a little bit of a bounce here. Anyone got a target on PayPal?
Let's take a look at PayPal.
SPY, by the way, set that 772.84 high and then reversed, coming back into the 9 EMA.
Oh, okay. So that I didn't see the news on PayPal. So basically, the company that was looking to pick them up has said no thanks. Yeah,
Stripe and Advent are no longer. They walked away from that potential deal.
Well, if the stock is trying to prevent a gap fill here, then we need to hold this 50-day SMA. Otherwise, we could gap fill. We do have the 200-day SMA down at 51.35 for support, but beneath this 50-day SMA, there's a gap from the July 14th to July 15th trading sessions. So that could be something to keep an eye on there. It could be gap fill. AEMD, it's chopping around. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, but it's still kind of in the same range. Wheeler is still not turning around. Gap leaning on that 65 EMA right now. Also turn around.
Matthew's saying O and then lol. Do you mean O as in realty income? No, that must have been something else. I think he might have meant zero. Sorry about that. Jay mentioning pi, ticker PI. That is straight up out of the gate here. Very thin, but has been pretty good since the earnings beat.
Looks like you got resistance at 185.
Yeah, it does. I wonder if that goes through there. Liam mentioning Bloom, ticker BE, Bloom Energy. That's up 1.3% here today. This will move off the low.
Yeah, it's still having trouble with that 50-day SMA. We haven't, tested it again since we've backed off of it in mid-August, but we did have a support from that 200-day SMA, and now we just need to, get above that 50. That is the resistance right now.
SPY looks like it might be trying to go higher here. Pulled back basically the 9 EMA and bounced. We'll see if that's a new high here. We still have a break of structure to the upside, but we have kind of a neutral trend right now. And we are not, we've made higher highs and higher lows, although that might change here.
Gap lost the 65 EMA. It's really starting to come in. Looks like you might have some support in the lower 23 handle, like 23 to 23.25.
Pre-market low getting tested right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Thoughts on Micron ever getting some upward movement anytime soon? I can't say that. First of all, I mean, in the immediate future right now, it is moving up from the open. But I think what you're talking about is more of a sustained run like we've seen from Micron in the past. I think one of the things we've talked about on Micron is that it really needs to get back above 1,000. If I recall correctly, that's one of the things we've been saying for a bit here on Micron. Yeah,
it's just kind of sideways right now. Getting compressed between the 20 and 50-day SMAs. Whatever direction we break out of is likely the direction we head. Just no real indication of which direction that is just yet.
Kenneth mentioning Google. Here's Google's intraday chart. It's all right here today.
Looks like QNRX lost that VWAP for the moment.
Gary's still on Intel. Is that still climbing here, Gary?
AMD popped to almost 330 and came back in.
AMD, huh? How's AMD doing today?
No, AEMD.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'm going to check AMD too.
All right.
Not a whole lot going on there. AEMD, the stock that you actually said. Well, I'm having trouble hearing tickers too, it seems. Here's your AEMD. And look at this, 13. Now we have a trend line here for some of these wicks to the highs.
Yeah. And on the daily chart, this is still holding its 20-day SMA. And on the 5-minute chart, it's currently holding VWAP.
SPY rolling over to its VWAP. We'll see if it holds it right here. Tell you what, Anne-Marie, the call on chop has been dead on so far. I know we've kind of drifted higher, like in totality, but this is just straight chop so far. Bot did a good job sniffing that out and not getting smoked on it too. I'm happy about that. Tesla is coming in. So we saw a whole bunch of Tesla calls. Those were the 0 DTE calls as Tesla was trading up to the highs. Looks like it stopped right at 359. Tesla has completely reversed that move, come all the way down to the pre-market lows, might break and go lower here.
Hey, fantastic trade there, JJ. Got a nice dinner on QNRX.
All right. That's a register ring. We'll take register rings on Friday.
We will. Go into the weekend with the register ring.
That's right.
AEMD still trying to hit that 325 area. No closes over it yet. This is about the same area where it's running up to in the pre-market. Did go as high as 340. And then out of the gate, we had that of the pre-market, we had the 348. So still trying to climb up to that area.
Marvel's bounce looks like it's done, at least temporarily. We're coming back down to the pre-market lows. Want to see if that area holds there. I'm seeing NVIDIA puts get bought here now. Oops, that's not the right ticker.
NVIDIA puts, huh?
Yep. Yep, and that is also at its pre-market low.
So I wonder if there's maybe some, just looking for where there might be some support coming. I guess possibly, 224. That would be the earliest one that I would see here.
They sell NVIDIA and some semis. They're buying the laggards like Amazon, Meta, and Google. Software is still good. CRM and Microsoft. That explains Amazon's move higher. That explains some of the other pullbacks that we're seeing. AMZN. Here's your Amazon move. How you doing, Izzy? How you doing? 260 coming on Izzy. He 260 coming on Amazon. He mentioned that as a key level for his trading decisions yesterday.
ServiceNow is coming up to some resistance on a daily chart. I think maybe in somewhere between 145 and 147, you could finally hit that resistance if you don't get it sooner than that. RSI on the daily chart's been extended. We've had a really nice move off of the 20-day SMA after it came close to the 200. Earlier in the month, we had a nice breakout through the 200-day SMA. So, in my view, with ServiceNow, this could still climb a bit higher, but I think we're running into a bit of resistance where the price is going to have to come back in. And if it does, I think 130 looks like a good spot for support to begin.
Paul asking about why Palo Alto and CrowdStrike are selling off. They had big moves yesterday. This kind of just looks like a regression back to the mean. For Palo Alto, I'd be looking at 355 as the area of note. And on CrowdStrike, let's take a look at that chart and see what we got here. Probably be looking at like 209, 210. You'd want those areas to hold. And that's a good mention there, Alan. CrowdStrike just had its earnings, but Palo Alto is slated here for next week. This is going to be Tuesday after the market closes for Palo Alto.
CrowdStrike probably looking for some support at 210.
S&P rolled over here. S&P futures basically coming into VWAP. We'll see if we hold them right here. S&P futures VWAP 774467, so 7744 and a half.
CYCU is flirting with the session highs. Very slow moving, but it's back up to where the session highs are. Looks like Resolve AI is trying to pull itself back over 3.
And then Jay also mentioned Rubric here on the back of those other cybersecurity names. Rubric did report yesterday and is down here. It is up off the lows, but does not have strength yet, down 7% here today. which is fresh off hitting an all-time high yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. That's trading back up. Indeed, watch 14 on PURR. I have to pinch myself, 13. Nike is on the relative volume scanner to the upside.
Alta is still coming in, looking for that support down around the 50-day SMA. Might see a brief bounce that tries to take it back over 520 if there is a bit of a reversal coming here, but absent enough volume. Absent volume, you're gonna probably not get back up beyond 520.
Big B's, if you're out there. I know you said watch the volume. Volume here has been all selling volume. Alto's coming into the impulse low that it had post its earnings print. What do you think the chances are of a potential 0 DTE put trade here for the 500s on Alta? Let me know what you think about that, Bigabees. We talked about Ulta yesterday.
CYCU new session high, 430 now.
Looking at them now. Let me know what you see there, Bigabees. Boy, these things are very, very, very thin. Zero DTEs for Ulta at 500. 114 contracts have traded. Going into today, only 227 were held open. So very, very thin. Be careful with that one if you take it. They're spread like crazy, too.
Do we think the nails are in Nike's coffin, or is this a great opportunity to buy? I don't think that there are nails in Nike's coffin. This is like the largest apparel company in the world, at least on the sports apparel side. Whether or not this the bottom is in, can't say, but I think that their moat is large enough to where they are not going to go out of business. They just command such a large market share. But that being said, this turnaround that they've been trying to undergo is taking a long time, and it could still continue to take a long time as they work through their inventory issues and innovate their apparel and footwear. I think I was hearing from some people that their shoes are starting to look better or feel better now. So it could just still be turning around. And if you believe that they are turning around soon, then I think that, this is a great spot to get it at, especially if you're looking for a dividend. But I can't say if this is, ultimately where the price is going to bottom at. There could still be lower prints. But that's basically the take I have on Nike.
This is pretty good insight. Bob saying Penn State, we are. Just kidding. Penn State just switched to Adidas. They're selling all Nike apparel for pennies this week.
Old inventory. Yeah, so much chop. Just look at everything that just chopped right down.
Anne Marie called it before we even opened. Mm-hmm. Called it before we even opened. Ulta, by the way, did snap that low. Now, I know that those options were extremely spread and thin, but this did snap the low. We'll see if Ulta continues to move lower.
It's now down at the after hours low from when they reported. So 508 is the low from after that print, and that's let's see, this candle is 508.13. So very, very close to where this bottomed at now. It still has that task of trying to recapture some levels, and as volume continues to dwindle, I'm not sure that it will. But let's see if it can. I think 515 is the next level it needs to get back above.
Really quick, Ryan, I emailed you about my trading bot. I don't see the email anywhere.
Check your spam.
I am. I don't think he'd go to spam. But I am looking for that. I am interested in that. And also, by the way, just to kind of throw this out there, I know several people that are coding using the AI tools to code market tools and or trading bots. And Ross, I'd be looking to set up a meeting to kind of shoot the breeze with all of those people that have created something. I think there's a lot we can learn from each other. And I'd be very curious to see if you're interested in this. Folks, we got something going on here. SPY with a God candle at the moment. Did we have news? I'll check here oh no, I just clicked the wrong thing there.
Michigan consumer sentiment. Hey, what are these little, okay. We got a new feature here, editorial importance.
Yep. Cool. So what that is I'll actually read you directly from the, I actually just got an email from a customer saying that they love that. Real quick here, we updated the newsfeed to use the importance rank in place of sentiment with a new story. So what you're seeing, we used to consider that like a sentiment reading. We're now considering it an importance reading, and it's got a little battery meter on there. And this should help you in the moment determine if a piece of news is important or not. It looks like Knights Lance likes that too. Awesome. Here, Ross, let me throw this out here. Let me give you my email again.
You should have some kind of webinar session like once a week called Ryan's Bot Builders.
Well, I mean, I probably wouldn't put my own name in that, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of like a weekly meetup for anyone that is actually creating. If you're interested in creating, we'll probably do another session for that too. But I actually want to get some heads together on people that have actually coded some of these first. I think there's a lot that can be gained from just sharing some knowledge. I would like to do something like that.
I mean, look at the success of the happy hour. That's shared knowledge.
You got that right. That's absolutely. That's where I get some of my best trading ideas from, by the way. Mm-hmm. Please add me to that list, Ryan. You got it, Anne-Marie. Nothing's official yet. Nothing's official yet on that, but I will add you folks.
AEMD with a nasty knife here, right through VWAP all the way down to and beyond the 65 EMA, trying to recapture that 65 EMA right now. And good call on Wheeler, because that thing has just done nothing but leak.
Yeah, I mean, look, I didn't really mean to be a jerk about it earlier this morning, but like, honestly, how many times have we looked at this dumb stock like doing the exact same thing? And I just like, it's one thing if you make a trade and it's a bad trade, you just get past it. But if you make a trade on something that we know is just a sham, it stings for longer. And I just don't want anyone from our group to do that. So sorry for the attitude that I gave this thing, but we know that this thing's a piece of junk.
It's earned your ire. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's earned your ire. I love that. I love that. By the way, oh gosh, I don't know if this is good or bad, folks. The bot just took a new long on PayPal. Bot took a new long on PayPal. We'll see if I get smoked on this or not. Oh, jeez. Only 100 shares, thankfully. We'll see.
Fermi, yeah, Fermi's still coming in. You know, we know this doesn't going to have revenue for a while, and it's going to likely pop on news. But I still like the behind the meter theme. I think that's pretty much where we're headed. With all the pushback that we're getting with data center build outs connecting to the grid and using electrical and water resources and the current infrastructure. That's, of course, what they would prefer, to do these data center builders. But now there's a lot of pushback on them from different communities and now state legislators and lawmakers. So I think that's what we're going to be going towards with these data centers, is you're going to see a lot more of these behind the meter builds. Fermi's one of them. There's a couple others. NPower is another one. They're out there. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head right now, but the two that I like, that I talk about a lot, I do like. But they are going to take some time because they are still building these things out, and they don't expect to generate revenue for about a year.
Really quick, the Geo, I think I like this a lot. Geo said, I think the algos went crazy there on SPY. We did have Warsh kind of kicking off his speech, so it might have been some bets placed just right at the outset of that. I mean, that kind of lines up time-wise. Cam mentioning that Warsh is actually speaking now, so we'll see if that does anything here.
Yeah, we're starting to get headlines about what he's saying.
Anything of note yet?
I mean, there's a lot that's being said here, so I don't know if I want to go through all that. But he says labor markets are stable. Inflation readings this summer were better than expected. You don't tell them that it's that underlying. You're not telling me that underlying. Okay. On price stability side of mandate numbers are more concerning. So and that's kind of what I think has been, the little bit of the relationship here between the Fed and the Treasury right now is not so much inflation or rates, but just getting prices where they want them to be. Now we're starting to get some pull in the market here, and we ran up to that 72.50 area. We actually printed this a little bit over 773, but could not hold that. Now we are sinking. We are sinking.
Yes, we are. And Anne-Marie, I love this. He actually used the word short, and that seemed to trip the algo and bring things down. Well, that explains it then. That explains it. Ross, by the way, I did get your email this time, so thank you very much. Let me mark those. Al, I got yours as well. I'm just going to favorite these. Again, I don't have anything firmed up yet, but I'll let you guys know as I come up with something for that. Gold and Bitcoin both weak here. I see a lot of weakness across. I just kind of looking at some of my charts. This is more anecdotal than measurement. Really, I see a lot of weakness across the board. VIX is curling up a little bit. Bitcoin at the lows, just like Jay said. Interestingly, Amazon at the highs. That's about all I see at the highs. I guess maybe Netflix is up there. But otherwise, some of the small caps are smoked. Velo's smoked. Tesla is smoked. SPY is smoked. SPY is really coming in now.
My BMNR warning, I think, is ringing true now, because that candle yesterday looked reversal to me with the run that we've had in crypto, not just Bitcoin, but other crypto to the upside. I think we're starting to see some mean reversion, some cooling after getting extended like that. So I think I would expect crypto to come in a little bit here. I don't think it's going to start absolutely tanking. It's just it's been overbought, over the excitement, with hard assets this past couple of weeks. So all that needs to cool off. I think it comes back in and it'll find support, and then we'll likely go and start moving up again.
Here's what your gold chart looks like. This is down 1% here. How are the memory names responding to this pullback? I'm curious. Okay, so they're pulling off some of their bounce highs from intraday. I'll check SanDisk just to make sure that SNDK, here we go, just to make sure that's the same. Micron, yeah, these charts look the same.
Yeah. You might think that China is selling, but they're actually buying. They have a lot of dollars and bonds hidden away in their banks. They just are only telling you what the bonds that they say they are selling. That's only what they are telling you that they're selling. They actually have a lot of bonds hidden away in various banks because in a crisis they're going to want to have dollars.
Interestingly enough, in this Tesla rollover that we're looking at, still seeing calls getting bought. Now, these are next week's and this week's, kind of a mixture of that. But it looks like there is call buying into the move down. Broadcom still holding on to green, it looks like, but barely. Boy, Broadcom is rolling too.
Yeah, again, Lion, you're reading the statistics. You're not looking at what their banks that do not report what the dollars are that they have on hold are saying. They have to, all these banks in China, they have to hold a certain amount of different currencies, and in a crisis, they're going to want to hold dollars. Let me send you something here. Let me see if I can find it. I'll help you out. But if you trust what China says, then you might be at a disadvantage.
Okay, so that SPY rollover, we're getting our first signs of a bounce here. I don't want to make too early of a call. The NASDAQ's doing the same thing. It looks like it's trying to firm down here. S&P futures are trying to bounce, but nothing of note yet. 770.89 currently on the SPY. Retro. So at Retro asking about IDAI. So kind of hinted at this yesterday. Now, I don't have anything for sure on this, but there's a lot. I know a lot of people that are holding the stock, and the float is much lower than what it reads as. Okay. So what I think you have going on here is I don't think you have a whole lot of tradable shares here on IDAI. It is also worth mentioning, if you take a look at the recent insider transactions, a lot of these insiders have been buying recently. Now, they don't have a lot of money. It's not as if these guys came from other AI companies where they have hundreds of millions of dollars. So the share counts that they're buying are not that high. The anticipation or the thought here is that there's going to be some news in the future. Now, I can't promise that. I don't know that that's the case, but judging by the recovery here, this area really kind of needs to get through this 340, 350 area here.
Okay, again, Lion, I wouldn't rely on what is out there on the on the statistics, and I get that. I know how to use all that. Read what I just sent you, so you can get a better understanding of where I'm coming from.
So essentially, Warsh said no future forward guidance, sticky inflation ahead, ignored the bond buy, signaling Fed decision will not be based on the market. Brian, you said oil is ripping? Oil is sideways. It's down 0.9% today. How did Ulta? Ulta kept going. Boy, big B's. I wish those puts. So we had this trade flagged. Big B's, but the puts just not liquid enough. Looks like it did keep kind of pushing away from that impulse low break.
Looks like all the movers are kind of done right now. And now we are Ulta finally getting some support down near 503. So pretty close to that 50-day SMA. Not exactly on it, but pretty dang close. Not saying that this is actually starting to turn around or not. We may still continue lower, but we do have a bit of a green candle here right now on the 5-minute chart.
Okay, I talked about SPY and the Qs trying to bounce. The Qs holding in a little bit better, but it sure looks like both of these want to kind of roll over to the low here. Man, Velo crushed.
XPON is just ripping right now.
Let's take a look at XPON.
It's up 24, almost
good
25.
volume too on XPON.
Yeah. Running up to some resistance here. Matter of fact, there's a bit of a trend line here. That could indicate that this may want to go up to 11.
What are you trend lining from?
An XPON, it's
I think I see it. The two pre-market ones?
Yeah.
Okay. Bitcoin also broke lower, by the way. That broke its structure to the downside. Tesla continues to move lower. Do you think we get some action like
I think
we see on Fed? What?
You're getting a little lag there. I didn't catch what you said.
Am I good now?
Yeah, you sound a little fast.
Yeah, okay, that's just an internet hiccup coming back. What I was saying was I'm wondering if we get a similar type of action where when they stop speaking, the market kind of turns around a little bit. By the way, IWM, lower highs, lower lows, break of structure to the downside, bear trend. I think you're okay in puts in IWM at the moment. You can see me fine. Okay, great. Corey, you like DOX long term? I think we just talked about that for an options trade with Anne Marie. Boy, look at that IWM break lower. Man, not in it. So, okay, EKS saying U.S. short-term interest rate futures fall as traders add to bets on Fed rate hike after Warsh's speech. Still kind of don't think we're getting a hike till after the midterms.
The Fed's driving commodities lower. That's interesting because I think that was what a lot of well, maybe this was something I saw a little bit longer than but there was some funds that were looking at commodities and liking them. So I wonder how they feel about that now. So we are getting a little bit of a turnaround here in Ulta. I'm not necessarily convinced that we're going to be in recovery mode just yet. Lots of upside resistance to still get through.
Ulta, I think, really needs to reclaim that 510 area.
Yeah, might be a little bit higher, but I think that's right. It's just you know, give or take several bucks, but yeah. the volume just is not great.
Bitcoin's still at the lows. VIX, it did curl up a little bit, but VIX hasn't made a big move. At least not yet. Tesla's still at the lows too. Market basically rejected here at the pre-market high, I guess the previous day high as well. So let's just take a look at the SPY, see where we're at. Did look like it tried to bounce off 770 there. But this area here basically rejected right here. Previous day high, 772. It was also a kind of a pre-market high earlier, and it just kind of rejected that. We'll see what this bounce does for us. See if this is just kind of a regression back to the mean bounce. The Qs are bouncing too, so is the Dow.
EKS, I have a hard time thinking that we're going to see a rate hike before November. It's just the idea of a rate change to the that increases it before midterms doesn't seem likely to me. I won't say it's impossible, but it just politically doesn't seem like it's the idea they want to go with here. So I think we'll see something like that in after the midterms. You'll probably get rate changes in November and December, and they could be larger than they would have otherwise have been if they did it next month. So, like maybe instead of a 25 basis point raise in November, because it's we've gone through October, that we see. Or I'm sorry, not October, but the next FOMC meeting, we instead see a 50 basis point raise that they're going to call a catch-up raise. Now, if we do get this market to come back in, then great. This is one of the things that we were saying earlier this morning. 772.50 still resistance. Still think this market needs more than a 2.25% pullback. Need to see more. I would much rather see this at least come down to the 755, 760 range and cool off a bit. But I can just wish all I want, can't I?
Full 1.5 bounce here on the SPY so far.
Isn't the Fed independent? It sure likes to say that it's or that's the thought.
That's one of the things Warsh is battling with right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is the economic symposium where he's going to have to, show other banks and institutions that the Fed is independent and that he has credibility. I think that's the big thing that we're watching here with is Warsh's credibility. And I know there's a lot of opinions about his credibility right now. I'm not looking to argue that. This is what the eyes are on.
Yep. That's why the speech here today is important and being viewed. SpaceX, interestingly enough, at the highs. Amazon also at the highs, as Jay mentioned. SPY is trying to push through the VWAP right now. So are the S&P futures. We'll see if it finds resistance right here and gets rejected, or if we're actually able to close above that.
BJM, maybe over the weekend, or maybe when markets aren't open. That would be my guess.
We could do one right now. You want to do one right now?
I know you do.
Let's do it. Let's do it, folks. Let's see what we get. In the first 100 days, we're going to tax the hell out of Iran. They have no idea what's coming. For whatever reason, the market does not like this. This is my favorite little graphic of him where he's all red, though, and he's screaming.
That looks like a normal day.
Next week, we're going to cut a historic deal with Greenland. Okay. We're having too much fun here on a Friday.
I actually like to see that.
Yeah, that would actually be awesome. You like that, Bri?
They're gonna have to go through Denmark in order to have that happen, but we'll see.
Now that's funny. I'm glad you guys are at least getting some entertainment out of that. There are, no one will be surprised by this, but there are a couple of junk penny stocks at the top of the relative volume scanner here today. Do with that what you will. Gap. So watch for this to maybe move through its VWAP. 24.27 is what I have there for VWAP. We'll see if this can actually go through it. And the SPY continues to push through the VWAP. Both the futures and the SPY both doing well. Q's bouncing nicely.
XPON almost hitting that trend line. Got a little pullback here, but 1077 is just 23 cents away from that 11 print that we were looking for. Yeah, you're right, Jade. Bio has been absolutely strong. Ever since that Moderna news came out, it's a lot of focus has really been put on, healthcare and biotechs, especially when they have an AI angle to them.
Micron, this actually a little break of that high here. So Micron actually looks like this is trying to trade higher here. We'll see if SanDisk is following with that. Indeed, SanDisk also in the green. Boy, these charts looking good, or at least for the time being. I know things can change awfully quickly.
We just need to see 3 closes above 955. I mean, maybe a little bit higher than that, but 955 where the 50-day SMA is. We just need to close above this moving average 3 times, and then I think we're back in business. But
okay,
so far we're just going sideways here. No real indication of as soon as we lose it, start going underneath the 20, buyers step in. As soon as we start going over the 50, sellers start selling. So whatever direction it goes, I think is, whatever it breaks out of, that's where we could head next.
Alan says, I'm not seeing any negatives here with Warsh's comments. I think he's fairly, he has fairly called balls and strikes with every sector so far. Now, SPY, a little bit of a regression here. That was a nice move, though, on SPY right there. Bot didn't grab that one, did not have the break of structure we was looking for on the reversal. Oh, come on. Give me the right ticker. What, did I type it in wrong again?
Looks like SpaceX wants to go, says wellness matters. That is still up above 42 now. SpaceX may lead the launch market, but Firefly CEO says there's still a rocket shortage. Well, I think that just depends on what we're trying to accomplish here with that. Because I agree. If we're trying to get data centers in space and try to start building out space infrastructure to make, to set up for lunar missions, yeah, we're behind. There's a shortage. And
I didn't want to make an early call. It's basically battling with its VWAP right now. So this little bit of a pullback here, basically being met at the VWAP. NASDAQ looking like that bounce is slowing down, but not giving it up just yet.
It looks like Bitcoin's trying to turn around here. I'm not going to say that it is, but it looks like it's trying to establish some kind of a base.
VIX came in too, by the way. Interesting. Very interesting.
Look at SpaceX's daily chart here. So this would be day number 2 above the 50-day SMA if we hold this. IPO price of $50 is still a resistance area with the potential for a breakout. IPO is going to be your support. You've got your 20-day SMA running up to help with that. I think it's just going to depend on how this next launch goes at this point. Maybe there's some other news coming that also will send it up or down. But in the immediate future, we have that Starship launch, and then just whenever that ends up happening, we do have another 7% tranche unlocking on September 9th.
SpaceX pulling back from that high. See if there are any other interesting options trades. MRVL, CoreWeave, boy, they're buying. I'll tell you what, tough read out there on tech. They seem to be buying both sides of these. Marvell's doing an all right job holding its pre-market lows. How did NVIDIA finish up here? Maybe it's not finished. NVIDIA is trying to bounce here, but I don't really have a great read on that. Intel, which we talked about earlier, that came back in, reclaiming the VWAP. Well, I'll tell you what, Anne-Marie. I know we're getting ready to switch over to Anne-Marie, but boy, oh boy, the chop call was spot on today, at least so far.
It is a Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of day.
Get to the chopper.
That's right. Important level for drop or bounce from past 2 weeks. Tesla's trade blue. Let me look at that.
Okay, we can put Tesla on here.
Okay, so I mean, on the
350 is the important level I think you're talking about.
For support, yeah, it kind of looks like that. Come up to some resistance. I still have 360 as a resistance level. You have the 50-day SMA coming down on that, as well as the 500, which we only have one close above since we gapped down back in July. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of it's kind of caught between some support and resistance, but I think the resistance is a little bit heavier to the upside here. Absent some news, this may turn around. I don't know that this is going to go up without some kind of catalyst that pulls it over the 50. XPON trying.
Kind of boring here, honestly.
Yeah.
SPY rolling back over. The chop continues. That call continues to be good. Dow at the lows.
Hopefully we do get some kind of catalyst coming here out of that. I mean, I don't know, or I don't know. I don't know what to expect here. I think it's that was the right call, just to maybe sit on your hands if there's nothing that's looking good.
Yeah, sure does. 13. Any closing words for the group here today?
Well, if you're still awake, folks, enjoy. Hopefully you enjoyed your nap. Market doesn't appear to be doing anything too exciting right now. Not even Warsh is really moving it meaningfully, although we did get some choppiness. Let's see what we get on Monday when we have institutions put in some window dressing for the end of August, and then we get some monthly inflows on Tuesday. Perhaps there's a better trade coming on those 2 days. So I'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.
All right, 13, really good stuff. Keep working on that beard. We'll see you on Monday. That is 13. His departure leaves room for Anne-Marie. Let's bring her on. Here is Anne-Marie. We'll put your screen on. Anne-Marie, how you doing today?
Pretty good. I'm glad.
I was going to say pretty good with the calls, too, because the chop is exactly what we're seeing.
Yeah, that's just very typical of Jackson Hole. For
They're
some
often
reason,
duds.
yes, that it's often choppy. So when it actually makes a move, statistically speaking, is next week. The following week, we'll see a little rotation. But at the end of the day, there's so much bullish pressure sitting in the market. We really end up seeing price action, just every dip getting bought. So, we just have to be patient on these dips. And then for the things that give us good opportunities for sideways, we just have to be comfortable taking sideways positions.
Okay. All right. Well, really good stuff. What do you have for us? I know you had some stocks prepared, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I do. I have a pretty good list, but I wanted to take a peek at, let's move this in. I wanted to take a peek at Lilly.
Okay.
Simply because they have a new drug, supposed to be way better than Ozempic, all making the rage, popping out, and so it's worth it to see before everyone starts bleeding from the eyes because of taking these medications. And I should not be joking, but I have a very dark sense of humor after working in the markets for 25 years. So please forgive me for that.
No problem.
So I think that this thing has got some pretty good setups for dip buying opportunities. So I just mentioned, hey, listen, what you want to have a look for is, wait Monday, Tuesday, see what things sort of flesh out if we get to have this pullback. Lily's in the middle of a little bit of a pullback right now. You can see that we had our momentum indicators change shape. And so now the chart is running into support action. And so that support area is going to be anywhere from the low test of the earnings candle at 138, or it could be all the way, 1138, or it could be all the way down at 1100. So if we take a peek, what I've been really enjoying is using these earnings formations to see how the broad market is estimating the forward trends, and all these dips are moving in pretty solid fashion. And so my thought is, if you're into it, we've got a couple of different things you can do. You can sell a put spread. It's 20 wide, but it's also paying $8.15, and the delta is a little bit over 3. So that's absolutely fantastic. If you said, hey, what about a combination where I sell some premium and take that premium to position myself in something like a condor for upside pressure? And so if you consider both of these, listen, this is December. It's got room to exhaust itself, but it's also got room to dip by. So that's what the prices are today. Let's see what they are Wednesday of next week.
Okay.
But this condor is a $6,000 condor, 1,200 to the upside, at the buy zone, 1,260, and then 1,400 and 1,460 as the top edges. If you sell the put and you buy the condor, you're going to have $6 in the trade for 6,000 to the upside. So is it a little bit more expensive than normal? Yes, but this is an asymmetric bet to the upside that's got, potentially a 10-1 on it in terms of moving towards those edges. Why did I pick those numbers? I picked the numbers because I am simply following the money. I'm following where the price action is sitting from that space. And we know folks are going to be all over this stuff, because apparently this new drug works as well as a gastric.
Bypass surgery.
Yes. Yeah.
So you get results similar to if you had gotten a gastric bypass.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
And
something.
yeah,
Ticker's Lily, LLY.
Yeah, LLY. Okay, so the next one on our list that I wanted to look for, as we talked about SNPS yesterday. We'll go over that one very quickly. It's pulling back a little bit off of this earnings space. Remember that big earnings flow, a lot of times, like we were talking about MRVL, or you were talking about MRVL, I was listening, and it had fairly good numbers, but then dropped. And then Mark said, hey, we're probably going to have a little bit more of a pullback, which I think he's right. But it's really relative to the gigantic run up, and we see that a lot. We see that, hey, if they rush into the next earnings event and it's either not a blow off top or whatever, people are going to go, hey, you know what? I'm up 85, 90% on this thing. I've been holding it all year. This one's it's got to get a little bit of breath. And so these guys, Synopsis, I have no idea what they do, but they are sitting in a broad price action event since 2023, and they just bounced off of that bottom. This is a potential buy area, but it could shake the trees a little because of this downward flow on the moving average. So, what I would do is put an alert at $385. And if it comes down into that zone, I think you've got yourself a pretty nice trade to the upside because, pretty nice trade to the upside in general.
Is your
For
machine frozen here?
it is.
Okay.
I'm
I just
gonna
wanted to make sure
close
it
some
was.
of my I let me see if I got some of my memory hogs up. Yeah. So we want to see it come down into that zone and then bounce. If you say to yourself, oh, God, lady, I don't want to wait for all that, you could say very easily, all right, I'm going out to November. Now, here's the very interesting thing. The very interesting thing is that traders are at a crossroads, just like you talked about from the happy hour stuff, where the images of what's going on with gamma flow are saying they're hedged on both sides. Everyone's expecting a dip and then a rip. What we know is if they try to time this dip and they get in front of it, they're going to get their stops run. And so we could have a squeeze from some sort of base case, bear case, where everybody's like super bearish and then all of a sudden the market rips. And so that's something pretty important. For these guys, they look pretty good. Again, you want to wait for it to come in and see if you can get the November sell the 420, buy the 410 spread. It gives you $325 at this juncture. Or you could buy, again, you might be saying to yourself, man, what are you doing with these expensive butterflies? What they're doing is capturing, so watch this. If we take a look at this and we say, all right, just show me the butterfly. What the butterfly does when the range is so wide, it gives you a lot of time and movement to make money. As opposed to a butterfly being very narrow, it's got to fit right in that space. But with these butterflies, especially if you sell spreads on the outside to take care of that, you're going to end up making, a ton of money to the upside. If you sold one of them, if you sold one of the put spreads and you still bought it, just one of these butterflies is going to give you the opportunity to make a heap of cash, right? And so you'll end up, so for this butterfly down here, and let's take a look at this. For this butterfly here, that's right about $5. If you sell one of these upper edges, so let's say you sell this put spread at the 400 area instead of the very conservative one at 380, you're going to get yourself a really nice upside shot, make a boatload, and then you don't have to really worry about watching it slide a little bit over to the left or slide a little bit over to the right because you've only got a very narrow space. So all in all, works very well, and it'll give you room as the chart moves about. And so for these guys, their earnings are a little bit sideways, which is why my thought is, let's do something that offsets it with the short put action on that side. Okay, so that's one of them. The next one we talked about was Ulta, right? So I know an iron condor, why? Okay, so all right, so here is Ulta, and it's got it had the earnings pull in a little bit, but their forward earnings into this portion, it's always going to be great because they spend a lot of money at Christmas time because they, either buy for themselves or buy for their significant others or whomever, all the women in the world. It's like, a candy shop for women, Ulta is. And so the forward earnings looks pretty strong into this area, but it's got this EPS that's so jagged that it's just worth looking at the iron condor. And so in order to collect a good amount of revenue, we've got 49 days on it, and it gives us almost the entire spread. Take a look at this. This is a $5 spread. 445 is what it was this morning. Oh, it's fallen. So now you can get it for about 210, 230. Put in 250 and see if you can get it. When I was putting the trades together this morning, I got it for 385. Simply because I put it in and it just immediately failed, and I thought, all right, that's great. That's superb. So the iron condor gives us, I think it's priced correctly because of the sideways action. And so if you're looking for trend, because the earnings charts don't look fantastic, it's very likely to range. Very, very likely to range. And it's still got pretty good updraft. So if it fades, it's likely to bounce. And so you're giving yourself a little bit of room to do that. All right, the next one we have is Workday. So if we stare down the chart, Workday has done, look at what it's done since the last earnings event in May. It did a really nice job recovering. Really nice job recovering. It's come into the 100 simple moving average, and that is, it's got some downward flow, so you can see they wicked. So that's my look above and fail. But if it can close over, oh, this alert went off already. I had an alert that said, tell me when it went over 200. It did go off. And now you're looking at something that's pretty bullish in general, right? So let's go over here and let's look at the earnings event. Look at these guys. Just nice, clean upward flow in their earnings per share. Great idea when you're looking at something like that and then you go back to the chart, the dips are going to be buys. So the question is, which dip do I need to go into? And for me, that's always where's old support. And so it's come up into that edge. It's holding the zone. Pullbacks they're likely, but the hold over the long run is forward progress because their earnings per share look so nice. So what do you want to do there? You do a couple of different things. And so for the first thing we could do is the iron condor, right? And that's 230 to 240, gives us $40 to the upside. We're doing it for October. And notice the October gives us, they're only pricing in $28 for the implied move. And so we're going a little bit outside that on the top end because it's got upward flow. We're holding it right at that ledge on the bottom side again because it's got upward flow, right? So that's why we've placed those there. I believe, yes. So I went to look for the chains that had the most open interest, and what would give us a really nice spread. Now the volume here is only 1, but leave it in the queue, let it work itself out. You'll get yourself a nice trade there. The next thing you can do is say, listen, I want to move forward in time. Look at where this one is, 155. So this thing's really moved a lot. Into December, they're already buying the 210 and the 220 calls for Workday. So the thought might be, hey, price action is trying to hold into this range. What could you do? I think a butterfly there that's 20 wide, although we are sitting here at 250. So if we do 240 on the butterfly, again, a little bit more expensive than we're used to. $30 to the upside is 270, right? So we're looking at a butterfly that's pretty cheap, right? 330, 340, something like that. But with this upward trend that it's looking at, it does feel pretty good in terms of giving it room to run, lots of money to be made, almost to 10x at the midpoint. And so, a great trade. If you took both of them, you could use the credit from one into the other. Could you choose November as your expiry? You could, but we know from past spaces that November is that election event.
Yeah,
And
midterms.
interestingly, they don't even have that one sitting right there. So one other thing I wanted to show you guys. Wait, what did I see about MRVL? Again, I think
said
this
an
one is
alert
caught
went off, right?
sideways. Yes. I think for Marvell, I feel exactly the same way Mark feels. It's just caught in this little pocket that's going to bring it in and then hold a new range, which is why I have the Iron Condor set for October. It just feels like that's what it's supposed to be. Now, remember, every time you take an Iron Condor, you need to put an alert where you have the short strikes, because when that comes off, if that goes off, you have to say, okay, what am I going to do when this goes off? Preparation is supremely important when you're taking an option spread or any trade in particular. You have to know, what are the choices I have when this goes off? I can do nothing. I can recheck in 3 days. I can get out of the position, or I can adjust the position. And you really need to have that game plan set before you engage in the trade, so that you understand what needs to happen when you get to the crossroads. Because when you don't know what to do and that price action shifts away from you, you're going to be deer in the headlights. And you're not going to have that controlled element of, all right, let's think this through. And that's
In there.
That's so important. Oh,
In there.
how do you think I know how to talk about it?
Yeah, you've been there too.
Yeah, come on. So this last one, I don't even know what VEEV does, but all the chains are super quiet. Not a lot of things going on, except all of a sudden, 1,000 of them came up here yesterday at the 230 strike, which deep in the money, and then the 270 strike, also deep in the money. And they're sitting here giving us a range of motion that could be pretty nice in terms of saying, hey, are they going to hold this? Are they going to move it? And is it going to follow trend? So if we go over here and we
This is
look
a
at earnings,
cloud-based provider, by the way.
take a look at their earnings. clip, clop, clip, clop, clip, clop. These guys are on the move. Pullbacks are definitely buy zones. You know, when you look at something and they're always beating the street by a bunch, but we know these analysts just eat cheeseburgers together in the middle of the day and go, all right, what do you think? So, am I wrong? Come on.
No. I mean, I'm
know.
pretty sure Marcus said that without saying exactly that. I just love the
Yeah.
cheeseburger comment because I'm starving.
Oh, so am I. We got to start talking about food again, mister. So, anyways, so this is a condor weighing the future, but you know what I would do? I would go in there and put a stink bid in there for like $3 and just leave it good till cancel and see if it fills for you. And if it doesn't fill in 90 days, which is normally how long it takes to fill before they, cut it off and say you can't have that anymore, do it again. As long as price action keeps moving, this thing is got projections that look absolutely fantastic. But that's it. Look at me, all prepped. 1, 2,
Yeah,
3,
I
4.
love it. We rolled through them. Do you need more? Because we got 8 minutes left.
Sure, let's do it.
Okay. Does anyone have one? Maybe, well, you already looked at Workday. Amazon's being mentioned in the chat. We've talked about Now before. Google was mentioned earlier.
Now is a beast.
Now, you want to take a look at Now?
Yeah, I mean, that thing is a beast. So let's look at it. I did talk about Now on the turn. I was sort of banging the drum there. And on, what day was it? I think about the end of July, I saw somebody sell almost 5,000 of the 90 puts expiring in January. So they did it maybe 2 weeks before earnings, and now this thing is just run like a scalded dog to the north. So where is it headed? My thought is that it is headed to the last earnings candlestick in that rotation, and so that's going to be up near 150, right? So between 130 and 150. The problem is it's a little long in the tooth, and what you'll notice with this particular moving average, which is the 10, it doesn't really stay for a long time underneath that before it does a mean reversion. And so I think it collides into that 150, 160 area and just stops dead before it comes back and rotates to the north. That being said, I mean, it's a pretty good looking chart. If we look at it on the daily, take a look at it on the daily, it's so much stronger than its counterparts in terms of recovery, particularly if you compare it to something like Oracle, right? But it's doing really, really well. My thought is, if you want to chase this beast, you can. If you want to chase it and you go, all right, I think it's going to run into September. Now, the September seasonality is pretty much Yuckville. So
yeah. Now, really quickly, do you think we see the opposite of it?
It's very interesting. Seasonality hasn't done as well as it normally does in prior years, and it's because this time's a little different. We've got a lot of jawboning, we have debt issues, we have a lot of fear issues, we've got our big AI trade, we've got private equity sticking their nose in everything, and so it's a lot squishier. On top of the fact, we have a Fed chair that does not give forward guidance. And so the market's all peeved at him because, well, you're not telling us where to trade.
Yep.
And he's trying to allow the market to do its own mechanical flow. Now, if per happenstance, my thought is always, hey, we got a little bit of flow positioning, but I read Martin Armstrong. A lot of people don't like him for whatever reason, but he was saying there's so much big money that is hedged short that a bear trap is very likely. And so a big flush is going to end up giving us more upside pressure. So, my thought would be, yeah, it's possible that we've got bullish flow. I mean, this butterfly that we had from, golly, when did I do that? That one needs to come out. So if we're taking a look at these iron condor events, these are always the best ones for me because I like looking at price flows that come in to the top of the range. And so because now looks great, we choose a bottom that's higher up, right? So we're going to look for, if we look at September, it's got $14 on it. We're going to go, the 55 to 60 works fine, but we really could do the 120 to 115. And that would give us a pretty solid structure in terms of, it's almost half the spread, right? And so here's the last thing I want to tell you. In times like this, when big money that you can see from gamma flows are sitting there going, hey, let's put 50 of these in this basket and 50 of these in this basket. And as soon as the move starts, we'll start moving things around. It tells us that everybody is hedged, waiting for something to happen and then following the catalyst. We have to approach that same thing instead of just jumping out and going, listen, it's going to do X or it's going to do Y. And so that would be my advice for the day.
Okay. Anne-Marie, great stuff here. It is so great to have you back, by the way. Are we on deck for next week?
Yes, we're great.
Okay, fabulous. Then do me a favor. Promise me we'll have a great weekend and we'll catch up with you next week. More trades next week. You do. Only if I do. It's a deal. We just made a deal. All right, Anne-Marie, have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Take care. That is Anne-Marie Baiynd, folks. Really good stuff. Anne-Marie's departure paves the way for Paulo. Let's bring him on. Paulo, how are you? Happy Friday.
Hello, Ryan. How are you? Happy Friday too. Can you hear me successfully?
Yes, I can. Looks like you got a little bit of a delay, but I can still hear you. You sound clear as day. What do you got coming up?
Looks a bit. All right. First, ServiceNow. We had been calling it one of the best setups the past weeks, and we're seeing some very bullish momentum. And in general, we see lots of strength into software stocks.
Okay. Trading Made Simple with Paulo starts right now.
Welcome back, traders. This is Sandra with Trading Made Simple. I'm here to show you short-term proven strategies. People think trading is a one-size-fits-all market. It's not. We live trade and train daily. Let's talk trading.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning. How is it going? I hope we all we're having a great week. And let's get started here with another technical analysis session. So looks like the time is now for ServiceNow. So we have been calling it our favorite setup actually in the past weeks. And now we're seeing a massive breakout, but we're starting a breakout after a massive weekly candlestick. That's true. And I would continue calling it my favorite long setup right now. So let's start by reviewing here ServiceNow. Then we're going, as always, a bit into the indices, a bit into some other individual stocks. And as always, I got here to the right, the chat room, where if anyone would like to request any chart, any ticker, any stock, ETF, cryptocurrency, we would like to give it a check in the technicals. It would be really appreciated. Any feedback, I would be more than happy to check it out. So ServiceNow, this is the first one. And thank you for the nice feedback in the comment. Yeah, so ServiceNow, there was actually many bullish setups here. First, the volume. The volume is just too powerful. After a potential, because in reality, Little Wave is a hypothesis. We really don't know if it's if that current cycle is or not. We can see it when we go backwards, right? Like here we can see clearly this was the 5-wave elite wave cycle. Now I do believe we're on wave 1. That is how early we are on ServiceNow. I do think this is wave 1 here for ServiceNow, just starting, all right? But first, of course, the bullish signals, the volume. The big volume bars, it's I have them colored gray because some people try to identify if a candlestick spike, it's bullish or bearish depending on the candlestick color. I wouldn't say you cannot use this strategy, but the color on the volume bars, it's just going to show if that candlestick body is red or green. Basically, we can have a slightly red doji at a 52-week highs with record volume, and it would be bullish because where it's coming, regarding that, the color is actually red. So I like to paint them gray so I don't get influenced by the color. And for me personally, it's all about where the volume bars happen. Volume bars happening at 52-week lows or even more, probably bullish. 52-week highs with big record volume bars, or at least not record, but at least very big volume bars, very big volume spikes, that would indicate buyers climax, and that would be bearish. So personally, I like to see on the volume bars indicator, where do they happen? They happen at 52-week lows, bullish. They happen at 52-week highs, bearish. Additionally, from that, we have here the volume profile, right, indicating the level of accumulation for ServiceNow was around 100 per share, 104. And now we're breaking out. It seems we already have a 5-point completed elite wave correction. That's what it seems. It could be incorrect, but so far it's looking like that. Not only that, bullish MACD crossover in the weekly. Super strong signal. Usually, the beginning of elite wave cycles happen with a strong bullish crossover like this. Then we had the bullish divergence. One lower low here in price, higher low on the RSI momentum indicator, showing the bullish divergence. As price went lower, momentum was actually flipping bullish. We got even an inverse head and shoulders. We're not even speaking about it, but we got an inverse head and shoulders. What happens if we actually try to chart it? The neckline is it's an ascending neckline, so that's a bit unusual, I would call it. But we do got an inverse head and shoulders. I mean, we got left shoulder, head, right shoulder here. We got the neckline. So for that, we would need to start breaking above 154. My personal price target for ServiceNow is all-time highs at 240. Actually, I do think we're going all the way to 280s. All right. This would still be wave 1. Wave 1 indicator on the RSI usually Wave 1 RSI indicator usually goes from oversold to overbought. We're kind of there, so I would be expecting a bit more move. Maybe wave 1 could go all the way to 195. Then I would be expecting a wave 2 correction, but that is how early we are on ServiceNow. Seems we're still on a wave 1. The other stock we actually mentioned that was our second favorite, but it actually outperformed ServiceNow, is Salesforce. It's software stocks momentum. It's clear. The charts are screaming long software stocks. They're like they were screaming long MRVL some weeks ago, not anymore. They're screaming long software stocks. We also discussed here Salesforce completed, apparently, potential completed 5-point correction on elite wave analysis. Bullish divergence since February to June. February, March, April, May, like 5 months of bearish divergences accumulating. Higher highs on the RSI. We broke out on the RSI. Absolutely wave 1, going from oversold to overbought. Super strong bullish MACD crossover. MACD crossover happens way on the low. So that is, as we mentioned for ServiceNow, it's usually the start of a elite wave cycle happens with that. We can see it even on the previous cycle here, start of previous cycle. See here, there we had actually 3, all right, but still it's the same movement. So it clearly looks like we're starting an elite wave cycle here. Histogram, actually, volume histogram, volume profile, not histogram. Volume profile actually shows an accumulation here, also some accumulation here. So if we start breaking above the 270s, price target for Salesforce per share. I do think price target for Salesforce 400 per share. We do got the big volume, very bullish. And we see that momentum also in the benchmark, which would be IGV, iShares, expanded tech here. the same. We had the 5-point completed correction. We had the bullish divergence. We had the record volume bars here. Well, I'm not sure if record volume bars in all IGV history, but super big volume here indicating capitulation. Wave one. Well, we could still be on wave one, all right, even though this was quite a pullback. Maybe this was already a wave. This is already wave three, all right? There could be the possibility this is wave two. I don't know it yet because we kind of have to go figuring out the Elliott wave, all right? There could be a strong chance this is already wave two, kind of like a flat correction, and this could already be wave three, all right? We have to follow it. I would like to see what happens when the RSI indicator hits overbought for IGV. All right. I think it looks a bit more like maybe a wave three than a wave one, even though it could still be wave one. All right. So software stocks, that is where I do think the strength is in this market. We're quickly going with semiconductors. Our past favorite, I will rate it right now a hold, not a sell, not a buy, a hold. For MRVL, it seems we're still on wave four. We did find some resistance, all right? We did find some resistance. I do think we're still on, we could already be on wave five, even though this could be a zigzag correction in wave four. There could be the possibility maybe we retest support, but I do strongly think MRVL will see all-time highs. I have not sold my position. I'm still holding it. My price target for MRVL, I think it would be somewhere around the 370s to 400 for the potential final fifth wave higher. If we go straight there, or if maybe we chop around, or even we do a lower low before, it would be a bit difficult to call it that close. But I do think it's going still to see all-time highs. All right, let me clean this a bit distracting. It could also have ended from the perspective that the buyers climax here in that big candlestick, but the Elliott wave cycle, it's pretty clear that this would still be at least wave five or in between a chop around wave four. If we go back into the benchmark, which is semiconductor stocks, SMH here, SMH does look like a clear wave four. See, we have wave one from oversold to overbought, wave two equilibrium, wave three highest point on the RSI indicator, wave four back to equilibrium. So I do think semiconductors are still on the final fifth wave higher. That is the reason I do think MRVL still has more potential. Now, I would also like to show quickly NVIDIA, and then we're going quickly with the indices, and also with any requests we have. So NVIDIA, it's a bit difficult to read here, but it does look a bit like a running flat correction. And let me bring the running flat correction image so that we can see what is it that we're discussing here. One second, let me copy and paste the image. And we got it here. All right, so Elliott wave corrections are difficult to find right in the moment because we truly don't know which is the correction until they have already finished. Because we have like 12-15% correction patterns, different than the Elliott wave going higher, which is just 5 waves higher. There's some variations, but usually it's 5 waves pointing higher. In corrections, there's flat corrections, zigzag corrections, irregular corrections, 3-point corrections, 5-point corrections. So until it has been fully drawn, it's difficult to see which one is. The running flat is one particularly difficult because you come from a bull rally, you have one drop, you do a higher high, and then you do another drop, which turns into a lower high. So it's kind of like a zigzag correction, but it's not pointing lower. It's a 3-point correction, flat correction, because you end up on your starting point, but just the B bounce traps lots of traders because you think, okay, correction was already over. Okay, bull rally, and then all of a sudden another quick correction. But I would like to show what we see here for NVIDIA. See, the bull rally, the first drop, the B bounce, and the second drop. Let's actually attach it, and you're going to see how close. Oh no, what did I do? You're going to see how close it looks to a running flat. This, I think, would be 1 minute, somewhere like here, right? Okay. Let me send it to the back. See? Check it out. All right, we see the chart. Now look at price action. It's exactly the same. We can even make it perfect. Oh, no, not there. We can even make it perfect here. See, it's exactly the same shape. Exactly the same. Look at it. It's amazing how the patterns really get respected like that in real market. We can see it here. Look at it. So is it a running flat correction or not? I truly do not know, but it's the same pattern. It truly looks like it. I could probably do this like 20 hours straight. It's amazing for me how it's doing exactly the same. So I do think this is a running flat correction. If that is the case, NVIDIA would be pointing higher. So I do think with all that semiconductors, we're still kind of on wave 4. I do still think semiconductors are going higher. NVIDIA would still be bullish. Let's go here for the indices. The indices are a bit more difficult, all right? There could be the possibility also the S&P 500 could be doing a running flat. So this could be wave 1, the B point, and then a wave C would have a higher low and it would be a buy the dip. The reason I do think we could have another pullback on the S&P 500 with a running flat is because we do have a bearish divergence. We have here a higher high against a lower high, indicating we're a bit losing momentum. If it's not a running flat, we would be continuing higher. Wave 4 correction would have already been completed, and we would be going for final 5th wave higher, where I would be getting out of the market. Potential price target for final 5th wave higher could be somewhere around 8,300s, 8,600s. All right. For the Dow, and this is where it gets a bit bearish, the Dow does seem that we just ended a wave 3. All right. So if the Dow already ended a wave 3, I do think we might see a bit of weakness into the broad market. That would bring us a wave 4 correction, which would be a dip buying opportunity. But it doesn't seem to that the Dow already went for a wave 4 correction. This pullback is nothing here to be considered a wave 4 correction. So the Dow kind of looking a bit risk off. So that makes it a bit more careful. Now, I do think we're going to see rotation into tech stocks because NASDAQ kind of already had much of that weakness develop. NASDAQ already had a zigzag, so probably wave 4 was already completed, but there could also be the possibility the zigzag is a bit higher than what I'm initially charting, and this is actually the A drop, the B bounce. We could even go lower and do a C. So if we just go straight up higher, or if we revisit the lows, Bollinger Bands contract a bit, and then we go higher, that's a bit difficult to forecast it. But I would say that any dip for the NASDAQ would be a dip buying opportunity because it does seem that we are either in wave 5 or we are on a bit extended wave 4 that could take maybe a couple weeks more, but it would end up in a buy the dip setup. For IWM, we're still breaking out. IWM looks like this is going to be also a wave 4 here. All right, and finally, RKK. As I always mention, it's not that I'm a fan of RKK ETF, but I use it for charting high risky stock, high growth risky stocks, right? And we're seeing a breakout on RKK. I think this is one of the strongest charts out there. We got a potential stage 1 accumulation. Histogram is huge, volume profile. I don't know why today I'm calling it histogram. Maybe I have been looking at the MACD too much lately. Stage 1 accumulation, volume profile here, clear accumulation, I would say. Wave 1, initially I would say RKK seems to be starting a wave 3. Potential price target, if this is a wave 3 for RKK, 115, 150s, basically our all-time highs. So I do think this is actually signaling that we're going to see risky stocks outperform maybe the upcoming weeks, the upcoming month. Usually, the latest stages of a bull market, we see speculative assets outperform other market sectors. And since we're discussing a potential final 5th wave higher for the S&P 500, it would make sense in this final 5th wave higher to see risky assets outperform. All right. So before we go into the request, I would still rate ServiceNow and Salesforce as my favorite two setups right now in the market. Also Adobe. I do think Adobe already bottomed, but I would say ServiceNow and Salesforce, I like them more. All right, we have the bullish divergence for Adobe, big volume spike. We see here the bullish divergence. We have the MACD crossover with rising histogram. RSI actually broke out a lot. I mean, it broke the bear market from the RSI. Technique I like to use for the RSI indicator is to chart it, to chart its patterns as if it was a stock. And usually momentum precedes price. So if we're seeing a breakout or a breakdown in the RSI pattern that we are charting, usually that later translates into price too, because momentum precedes price. We're seeing here the breakout. RSI says bear market over, price not yet, right? This is just a dead cat bounce in price. But since the RSI is breaking higher, I do think it is indicating that Adobe will follow all the sentiment we're seeing on software stocks. So now let's go back here into the chat room where we have time for some requests. All right. Thank you for Buffalo by Bicycle with a positive feedback. Always trying to look which stocks could outperform here. We have a request for HUBS, HubSpot here. Hey, great catch. Great catch. Oh, wait a minute, this is bullish. Okay, so first we got how much since February to July of bearish divergences accumulating. We got like 3-4 lower lows against a bullish divergence. Momentum indicator flipping completely higher here. 1 second. 1 minute, please. All right. Apparently, a call from an unknown number started linking into my into my headphones. All right. So we have here a higher. We have here a bullish divergence. We see price going lower here as momentum is rising, which is looking very bullish. We also have a MACD bullish crossover here. We got the big volume indicating potential capitulation. And now I would like to see here a bit that volume profile. Yeah, no, volume profile here. Volume profile is clearly showing here accumulation. I would say HubSpot is looking very bullish. And we got one final trick for this. Let's see what insiders are doing. Let's see what insiders are doing. Looks like there was a bit of a lag. I think we're back here. Okay, insiders bought actually like 200,000 they sold 50,000 sale. Okay, so there was a bit of a lag, but so for HUBS, scenario would be looking very bullish here with insiders buying. The volume is looking very positive. We're seeing accumulation, and we could be about to start an elite wave cycle here. Let's go with our other request here. Let's see. IGV read despite Microsoft's Salesforce now. Yes, Palo Alto Networks and CrowdStrike, actually cybersecurity. Let's see them. CrowdStrike, I think they're going through a correction. Seems this was a bit of a wave too for cybersecurity stocks. We see it for CrowdStrike. I think we also see it here for Palo Alto Networks, with the RSI going from oversold to overbought for wave one, and seems we're dropping here for the wave two back to equilibrium. So some software stocks are already going through wave two. So I think, yeah, software stocks, some are already going into wave two. Others are just about to start a potential wave one. We have a request here for Microsoft. I think Microsoft, I left it in wave one. Yes, see? Microsoft, it was so bearish here, right? And now we're basically back to all-time highs. We had the bullish divergence, 5-point completed Elliott wave correction. We had a lower low in price against here a higher low in the RSI indicator. We had the bullish MACD crossover looking bullish. We broke higher, and seems that this is wave one with the RSI indicator going from oversold into overbought. So for Microsoft, it still looks bullish. Price target would actually be all-time highs somewhere around there. Oh, come on. There, somewhere around 550. But I do think we're going to be breaking into higher highs here. So Jay actually wanted to see weakness in cybersecurity. Let's go back 1 second to CrowdStrike and Palo Alto Networks because we did had a bit of a lag. So as we were mentioning, I do think I do gotta clean this. The past, it's a bit distracting. I do think cybersecurity stocks are looking like a wave two. All right. What it's looking like the wave two is that the histogram is falling. Seems we could be ready for a bearish MACD crossover, and we do got the bearish divergence. We have here 3 consecutive higher highs with 3 consecutive lower highs on the RSI indicator. So for CrowdStrike, I do think, like, for example, if this was the top, and let me delete a bit this. Let's calculate a potential target for a buy the dip setup. What we're going to do is we're going to apply Fibonacci retracement. So usually in Elliott wave corrections, price goes either on wave 2 and wave 4 correction, price goes either to the small pullback or the big pullback. All right, the small pullback would be located from 175 to 195. All right, so buy the dip setup 1 would be around the 175, 195. Buy the dip setup 2 would be around 115 to 140. I don't think we're going all the way back to 115, 140. So initially, all right, I would be looking for a potential dip here to the 180s average, and then I would be looking for a continuation of this Elliott wave cycle. And I do think we have the same for Palo Alto Networks. If this is already wave 1, we also got the bearish divergence. If this is here the wave 1, one second. Okay, there it is. If this would be the wave 1, a potential dip for wave 2 would be on the 300 to 330s range. Palo Alto Networks would look like a buy the dip setup here before we actually continue higher. All right, and we have another request here for ZS. Cybersecurity looks like it's about to break out. Let's absolutely check it out. And I do think we have time for 1 or 2. So if anyone would like to request any stocks for the final minutes, feel more than welcome and encouraged to do so. So yes, ZS here, Zscaler also looking good. We also got the bullish divergence. We're dropping here. We were dropping here, indicator rising. I think we're also breaking out on the RSI. Yes, we're breaking out on the RSI, indicating that momentum is breaking out. As we mentioned, momentum breaking out, momentum usually precedes price. What I also like is we have a strong bullish confirmation with momentum. So when price for Zscaler was around 188, 190, the indicator was at 50 RSI, but now the indicator is higher. So price has not yet broken above that previous high, but the RSI momentum did, indicating rising momentum as price climbs. So this would be a bullish signal from the RSI. We also got a bullish MACD crossover with rising histogram pointing higher. For Elliott wave perspective, I wouldn't be sure. This doesn't, yes, Elliott wave doesn't show which is the correct. The cycle was here previously, wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But this correction just seems a drop. I don't see any corrective pattern going on. With Bollinger Bands expanding after a contraction, I would say that a break above 188 would be very bullish. And what I would also like to see is the volume profile Yep, see? Volume profile showing here strong accumulation around the 140s. So it's actually looking very bullish here. We have another weakest for Pony, and I think that might be the last one. Let's see, or maybe we can do one more. We still got 4 minutes. Oh, wow. This chart is from when? What happened there? Okay. Looks like a choppy IPO into accumulation. All right. We would need a bit more price history to be able to read it correctly, but let's try to chart what we have so far. No, kind of like a bit of a breakout there, but I wouldn't rely much on this candlestick, on that trend line. Maybe if we try to chart the bottoms, we could be having a support trend line, but we only got 2 validations. I would prefer more. I do like the big volume spike here, all right, indicating capitulation. And what I would also like to see is the volume volume profile. It's a bit here. So it looks like we could have a bit more accumulation. We're way below the volume profile, 50% down from where, so that kind of turns into a distribution. So this is still showing distribution. Why? Because we're below the big activity on the volume profile. If we're below it, we're looking at a distribution. If we're above it, we're potentially looking at an accumulation stage. So it kind of does seem they might have sold it. I would wait for a bit more accumulation. We do have a bullish MACD crossover. Maybe we could have a bounce, but I do think we are still on a stage 1 accumulation. If that is the case, we would also need to maybe give it a quick check to their fundamentals. Let's see maybe how revenue is going. Well, revenue is not bad. It's climbing on the few earnings reports we have, but it's not yet a profitable company. Operating margin is red. All right. And price to sales ratio, it's expensive at 20. It's a 3 billion company. They only do 36 million. I would call it a bit expensive here. So for this one, keeping in mind that the fundamentals don't look mature yet, I would look at it a couple months from here. Maybe we could have a bit of a chop around accumulation. And if we start seeing that the volume profile flips all the way lower, that would be indicating that institutional money could be potentially accumulating at the lows. All right. So yes, that would be all for today. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. We got 1 minute for a closing. And with what Jay mentions, crazy market, rip NVIDIA yesterday and sell Max 7 today, opposite sell-off, NVIDIA buy Amazon, Meta, Apple, Microsoft. That is a typical behavior under distribution. And the reason we're seeing that in big tech is because NASDAQ is already getting closer to its final 5th wave higher. So we are already seeing chop around the big tech names. We're seeing it on Amazon. The wave is not that clear for Amazon. We're also seeing it for Google. So I would initially think that a Magnificent 7 stocks could, even though I think there's still more bull market, we're going to see a bit of a chop around, because I do think that Magnificent 7 stocks are already starting a distribution. They are already going through a potential distribution. So I do think momentum is going to be more on the upcoming weeks in software stocks too. We didn't even check genomics today. I do also think there's momentum in genomic stocks, but right now the favorite setups, I would still call them ServiceNow and also Salesforce. All right, those would be my 2 favorite setups, and I would rate AMD and MRVL, which were our previous favorite setups, a hold into the upcoming weeks, and a sell maybe in a couple weeks. So yes, that will be all for today. I would like to thank you everyone for your participation, for your attendance. As always, I would also like to thank the team at Benzinga, at Ryan and Aaron, for inviting us here on Fridays. If you would like to look more about what we do, you can visit our website, tradingmadesimple.org. So thank you, everyone. I hope you all have a great weekend, and see you next time.